5 pers, det blir nice. Ska vi se här.
Oj. Jaha, du har typ lyckats länka in viktiga ögonblick från hans grej
5
här.
pers,
Nej?
det blir nice. Ska vi se här. Oh shit.
Eller vad fan ser jag här?
Nu är det live i alla fall.
Okej, perfekt.
Hello
Switching to
everyone. Switching to English. Exactly. Sorry for the delay. We were wait, where is David? There's David.
I'm here.
Wait, do you see me properly now? Yeah, you do? Yeah. Does this look good? Cool.
Jag måste ta bort. I need to take away the volume from the YouTube because
Yeah,
highly confusing.
you just came from the stream, right?
Yes.
On Twitch.
Yes.
Cool. Well, is there anyone here? I guess. Whatever. Thank you for agreeing to do this little chat. I think it can be fun. I realized that we haven't done a AMA together on my Patreon yet, because I have done. Do you know AMA? What it is?
No.
It's like
AMA.
it's short for Ask Me Anything, and
Uh-huh.
I have invited Luigi, Farrell, Paul, several of the Hypnus guys to answer like questions from the Patreons, and it's usually like a big article. And I realized when I posted about this conversation on Discord that we got some questions. So we'll see where it leads. There are some interesting topics that I would like to talk to you about, because over the years we've had many interesting conversations together, and I always appreciate your perspective, since you have been working as an artist basically your entire life, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, in different like fields a little bit, but yeah.
Can you maybe talk a bit about what you have done and summarize maybe your life?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I started with music like 30 years ago or something, but I kind of went through like the phase of I started to make. Okay, let's take it a little bit back then. I started with music, and then I started to make music for like pop, like, you know, more like songwriting for bigger artists, you know.
Yeah.
And then I got like signed to like a major label with not me myself, but the guy I was working with, and we tried to do like very commercial stuff, which we, like, I believe, hated from the start, to be honest. But then when I got tired of that, I started making more, like, getting into the, like, I got so frustrated and tired of the commercial world that it made me, like, into the most strange person ever. Like, strange taste. Like, the taste, it just washed all the commercialness out of me for some reason. Some of that's back now, but... Yeah, so I went into a school for like classical composition, very like this podcast, very much like everything. I don't know if people know about the podcast you made me listen to. Do they?
No. I don't think so. But did you snap up? Did you? Was there anything there that you found interesting in relating to this?
Yeah, like pretty much that what he's talking about is like basically what I've been studying. I studied like classical composition for 5 years.
Yeah, right.
And he's like, everything he talks about is basically what you learn in that kind of school. Like, that's the basics of like the whole like thing. So I went through that and into like making more like sound art. So I started with more like classical composition and more like, you know, writing for orchestra and stuff like this. But my projects were very like, I mean, one of my first like real performance I did in school was like, I made like a, you know, like a IKEA kind of, you know, the score was how to build like an outdoor toilet, and we had like 15 people with swords and hammers and stuff, and we were inside a church like building and built this little house together. So I like went in more into that kind of performative art kind of space, into more making like sound installations. Like I made some like maybe there's some videos out there of it, but like converting like car hoods into speakers and making, you know, more like, yeah, what do you say, an organ from the kitchen fans and stuff like this.
Right.
I've been more that like art, visual art spaces, like gallery art, basically.
Yeah, it's very interesting because it's such a, like the things I've seen you do, and normally it's very niched stuff, like extremely niched things, and being able to sustain yourself as an artist doing that for so long, I'm sure it has brought one or two realizations about what art is, what it means to be an artist, and perhaps
for sure.
Yeah, because we had one question from Discord actually, where I learned a new word. I don't know if you ever heard of a nindo.
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 No.
It's like it's some kind of slang word. I had to look it up, but it's like basically like some kind of ninja wisdom, basically.
Okay.
So they asked, like, do you if you have a nindo that keeps you going forward? By that they mean they specified something like a reminder of what matters the most and helps us at times of doubt. It doesn't doesn't have to be a sentence; it could be a philosophy in general. I'd like to know how an artist such as David is able to keep going for so long, which is quite interesting considering the weird things you've been able to sustain yourself through. And being an artist can, like speaking from my own experience and from artists, generally speaking, like it can be quite a, I guess, a lonely thing to occupation, in a way where we don't go to an office filled with colleagues every day. We go into our own little hole and try to express ourselves and kind of dig something out from there, you know.
Yes.
Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's basically
nindo.
The nindo. The nindo. Yeah, I don't know if I have like a short enough nindo. There's not a short
Take
nindo,
the long one.
but there might be a long nindo.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, but I think it's important to always. I mean, the thing I learned the most is to never consider like an art piece or a song or anything you do to be done. If you never consider anything to be like a finished piece of art, you kind of force yourself into that kind of eternal process, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, sure.
So instead of ever thinking, like I had a teacher when I started, and it was not like a very good teacher, but the thing he made me, like the thing I loved about what he taught me is like, even if I made some art piece and I came to him and I wanted help or something, he always like critiqued it, if it was even like this close to done or if it was like far away. He always critiqued it in the same way. Like it was never like getting to that like finished level. And I think to me I feel like you just work. If you just work all the time, if you just like enjoy what you're doing, like if you enjoy the process, force yourself into that realm where you enjoy the process. So like you get to these points when you have to kind of release it or you have to be done and create these like, what do you say? Vad fan heter det, Michel? Datum där man måste ha gjort det.
Like a deadline.
Deadline, yes.
Yeah.
Deadline for yourselves is very important, but in between deadlines that you made for yourself, just, I mean, keep working and never consider anything done. Yeah. That's worked for me. I mean, it's a very, that's my nindo.
Yeah, it's very interesting because it's kind of the opposite of what I hear many say also, because I know a lot of people they struggle to finish stuff, and I tuned into your Twitch today as well, where you said that you like to work in Logic because it helps you finish stuff, and someone said to get out of that the serial looping. Like this, like, and I think a lot of people. I don't know if it's specifically because of like the loop nature of Ableton, which people use a lot, or if it's some other more like a behavioral psychological thing, because I assume artists had issues finishing what they started long before Ableton came. And it's sort of like in that sphere, it's more of like deciding for when something is done. It's a bit of the opposite. Instead of like never seeing it as done, it is to come to the conclusion of actually work. Well, it's the same thing, because you are talking about continuously working to try to finish things but never seeing them as done, right? Yeah. Because I remember once you told me as well, which something that I liked was that like if you never finish something, you never learn how to finish something, right? Just to like practice and trying to finish stuff at least, and like doing it over and over, then eventually the more you try to finish, like you're not gonna be good at anything the first time you do it, right? So every time you try to finish it, and maybe you fail or not, and then for each time you try to finish it, then the more sort of competent you become at finishing it, to the point where like you have a loop and you want to arrange it, and you can do it in like 20 minutes, because from the material that you have, basically like how you can quickly arrange it, not like to doing it the same way every time, but you get an intuition for what sort of arrangement will fit the loop that you have, and then maybe you just go into a quick draft and then listen to it and immediately get some ideas, and then just like it goes pretty fast to finish it. But it was interesting now when you say that, like never to see something as done, because I really liked that as well.
En utesluter inte den andra. How do you say that in English?
One doesn't exclude the other. Yes, I guess. Okay, yeah. It's an interesting kind of like they paradoxically sort of work together. Yeah. It's interesting because also since I started programming, then I really started thinking about this a lot, because when you are working on a software, or when any software, it's not done, right? You create normally, let's say if it's a website, you build it, you publish it, and then it's just like a perpetual project where you're trying to fix bugs, keep up with updates, add new features, and fix all the bugs that appear when new features are added and all stuff. So it's like a perpetual thing where you are constantly improving on it. And that really gave me an interesting idea, because I really like to edit. Like if I post things on like a status on Facebook, or if I post a comment on Discord in a chat, like I can I write it spontaneously, post it, and then I react to something in it, and I edit it, and I can edit. And I really love that, like, because for me it's about really like thinking about what I'm doing, reflecting on it, and improving, and then just like iterating, right? And it could be kind of fun to do that with music. I was thinking, like, imagine if you have a release, you put it on Bandcamp, 4 tracks, and you put like a version number, like version 1.00, right? And then you post it, people buy it, and then you listen to it, and then like 2 months later you're like, shit, this hi-hat sounds a bit weird. So you fix it, and like, maybe I should add a little percussion here. You add it, you upload the new one, like 1.10, and you have like patch notes with the release. Like in this patch we added this one, changed this track, and everyone who bought it, they can always get the new release, and the file is always like with the version number anyway, so you know which version of the track you have. Like I never seen that, but it's kind of funny. Like it's
I like it.
To me it kind of feels like a sort of internet native way of dealing with music, right? It's harder to do. You can't do it on vinyl, but on online you can really do stuff like that. And it's funny, like in that it really ties together with what you said, that something is never finished, because that's how I feel as well. Like, I think it can also lock people from finishing stuff if they have this anxiety that something isn't done and they have to release it, and then they can't change it ever again.
Yes.
They need to be completely sure that everything is perfect and ready, and then if they change their mind later, they can't, and how that can maybe prevent people from finishing stuff.
Yeah,
That's what came to mind.
It's not a bad idea. It's actually quite beautiful idea, but I think it's also like that's another reason why people have hard finishing stuff is that they are very like afraid of what they become when they what they become, not what it becomes, like what they become if they release it, like if it's like the idea of it being a part of themselves, and when it doesn't really reflect the person,
right?
And that's also what I mean, like with the concept of like you have to finish stuff just to learn other parts of the process, because it's very hard for you to, like, if you never finish something, you never learn about the process of making album art. You don't never learn the process about how a mastering should sound.
Yeah.
And how a release should be promoted.
Right.
And like there's so many more parts of making a record, more than your tastes, like, and your like there's so much more to learn, and the things that you don't even have a concept about before you're finished. Like, so maybe and then you realize when you did some releases, there's no right way to do it. Like after like, I don't know how many releases I have, but there's the only real truth I can see in this point is that there is no truth, you know. Yeah, and I'm sure you come to the same conclusion with all the releases you did. It's like it's just different. It's not like there's no like fundamentally good thing. Of course there's different beautiful things, but there's no like, you cannot like your first release or whatever cannot be like, you know.
Yeah, I mean some have that for some reason. Some people just seem to be born with it, but probably they aren't. But this is definitely something that's central in Hypnus also during all of these. It's 10 years now that we've been doing this, and from my perspective, like our discography, which it's always a sort of like an evolutionary. It's never like the earlier records. It wasn't like that was like more of a snapshot of where we were then, and end up in exactly this thing, where it's like eventually we're striving to be better and better, and even if we are not always completely happy with something, at some point we need to decide just to like for the motion of going forward all the time, not getting stuck. Just like, okay, now we did all of this, what do we have? Okay, we try to make this record of it, we publish it like this, and then we move on. And then all of these 10 years, almost every record with basically every artist that I've worked with when we're making these records is always like a stepping stone towards what we sort of like, and every artist have their own idea of what they want to do. And since I know everyone on the label personally very well, I can sort of like empathize and relate to what they're trying to do, and like be supportive and going there. Like, because many times it was like, for instance, when we released the Primal Code records, we were working on that for like 2 years.
Yeah.
And eventually just like can't be perfectionist in a way, and just have to trust that we have reached something. And then we made the La Via della Seta, their debut album, which is amazing. And then that was like a big like emotional release. Just like, okay, now it's done. Now we can go on something new. And then we realized like beyond that project lurked like so much new competence and stuff that were sort of like cramped inside of these old projects that we were trying to fix in a way. And then when we just like went past that, so much just came like sort of like crashing through, because then we had so much experience with so many things. It was like very much more easy to work together in many ways, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's, for sure.
Yeah, and it's interesting what you said also, that some people may struggle with finishing tracks because maybe they are a bit afraid about what it says about them. And for those who don't know, when David and I are referencing a podcast, it's a conversation with a composer named Samuel Andreev, who is a YouTube content creator, sort of talking about classical music and also basically music theory and theory about music, culture and how it arises, what music is, and stuff like that. Very, very interesting. And one of the things I found very relatable and interesting what he said was this, that like when it comes to being an authentic artist, you don't choose what you do. I found that so interesting. Like if you're really truly authentic when you're creating something, the music just comes in your head, and when you're doing it, it sounds the way it sounds. You can't control what it is. And that's a bit weird, because I can really relate to that a lot, because many times, like when my ether mechanic stuff or end-token stuff, many times I'm very awkward by the fact that I made it. Sort of.
Really?
Yeah,
afterwards?
But, I mean, in a way, when people ask me, like, I really like your music, and they talk about the music, because for me, there's an alienation from it as well, because I didn't choose it. It's not like whatever thing I choose to bring into my life. Maybe there's not big of a difference, but there's some qualitative difference, because it's not like I have like this, I walk into a store and then there's like a big selection of different sounds and I just picked one. It's more like a sort of like a pressing thing that just needs to come out, and I can't really do anything other than it. So it's more like I have a relationship to it myself as a sort of observer, or sort of you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think I know what you mean. I think at first I thought like maybe I am the complete opposite, but then I kind of, because okay, so you basically you hear a sound in your head, and it's the strangest sound, or is it a feeling, or is it like a actual sound?
I don't know. I mean, when it comes to those projects, really they are sort of conceptual outsets, sort of like these are the kind of sounds that I want to use, and these are the kind of mental ideas that I have, and then it's just a matter of starting, like putting a sound and listening to it, and from there it's just a series of like sort of reactions to whatever is happening. So it's like basically just like sitting down with a mindset, playing a sound in the speakers, and then start reacting to that sound.
I think I feel it's exactly the same way for me as well. Actually, it's like the concepts. It's maybe you have the same, but it's not always like the concept could be like, even like you said, like programming. It's like more like a concept that is like, it could be math or something, but there's some kind of musical implementation of that idea that you have to try it.
Yeah. Do you have do you have like some sort of conceptual vision or so when you do the Birds of Paradise stuff? Because it's kind of coherent in the sound in a way.
Actually, to me, that's kind of the Birds of Paradise project in one way is just started like the opposite of that. It was like the projects that I was not going to conceptualize and just be very like vain. Do you say vain? Fåfäng?
Yeah, vain.
Vain. Yeah, I was trying to make like I've been making so much like, you know, it's like art and like weird stuff and noise performances and
right.
like, you know, doom metal and all these kind of like conceptual stuff, and like I wanted a project where I can just like be very honest with myself in what I think is beautiful and what I think is like soothing for my soul and for my creation. So the project was in the beginning the complete opposite of being like conceptual. It was in the first I wanted to be like a very, very noisy project because I think it's such a cute name, Birds of Paradise. So I wanted it to be very aggressive, but
ended up sounding cute.
It ended up cute. Exactly. Yeah. So that's kind of but I am the exactly same kind of like I think there's a YouTuber called that I followed now, so called Ned Rush.
Right.
If you've seen him.
Yeah, I think I saw he did a slink. He used a slink.
Maybe he did.
I think so. Yeah.
He's. I think I feel a bit like him when I do stuff. It's like yes.
What's that mean?
No, but like he's sometimes like, hey, today I'm just gonna work with dub delays.
Yeah.
500 dub delays, and
Mm.
it's like the concept is just some kind of mix between a sound and a practice, and
Yeah.
it's also a lot about like slöjden i skolan, crafts in school. It's some kind of childish, naive kind of vibe. You want to tap into that like naive self where you just want to like have ADHD over like some weird concepts,
Right. You have a pretty solid schedule for creating, as far as I know. Can you tell a bit about that, maybe?
Yeah, I work my days like a job. I work. I have a 3-day thing. Like of course, I'm not completely like following that always, but I usually work 3 days with a song. I use, and the concept is like that the first day you kind of make something you want to make, and the second day you kind of hate it and fuck it up, and the third day you kind of save it again a little bit, and probably make it like 1% better than the first day.
All right.
But if I would talk to you and you wanted somebody, like if somebody wanted to release one of the tracks, I put a lot more time into the track.
Yeah.
But I am not one of those people that we talked about that have a very the only person I ever met that's in our kind of like realm that has like such a high like vad heter det? Hög lägstanivå. The high lowest level.
I think it's clear.
Yeah. Is Alex Dorisburg. I think he has like his like lowest level of song is always like the only person I ever met who can like, I don't think I am certainly not like that. Like I can make 20 songs and a half of them are good.
Yeah, I really like seeing him make music.
Yeah,
he's very hands-on and like just twisting everything, and then he's like snapping up on something like that, like what's that, and then he's like finding a sweet spot on some fucking some knob that was just like he just tweet everything and like there, and this sounds cool, and then it's just like takes 10 seconds with a new thing, and then everything sounds good.
Yeah, it's a very, I don't know how he does it.
Yeah,
I think it's
a lot of practice. I mean, he has also been like he has been working professionally with music also his entire life.
Yeah, for sure.
And he's an interesting person as well. Like he has interesting thoughts. He has spends a lot of time reflecting on things as well. I think always like you can talk to Alex about a random topic. It's always like just like think about it and just like give an interesting thought about it. Yeah, and I think that's that's something interesting. I talked about that on Patreon recently because I often get asked to give technical tips and tricks on it, and I see a lot of focus on the technical parts from producers, generally speaking, and it's basically the only thing I hear people talk about. It's a lot about technical stuff. And something I've been thinking a lot about is that eventually you're gonna understand everything there is to know about the technical things, and then I think a common place many end up is this sort of like emptiness when you know everything, and you look at your synths and they are just like lifeless pieces of metal in themselves, you know. They won't like the music doesn't lie within understanding that. I mean, that's just a tool to express something from within you. So like the synths and everything, like they come alive through the interplay with you and who you are. And that's very interesting to, like, being an artist then, in the, eventually, it's just about being an interesting person in a way. And like, how do you become interesting? Well, you read a book, you talk to people, take a walk in nature, you think about things, listen to a podcast, you know.
Yeah.
It's like sort of start to prompt yourself with impressions from the world, is to start thinking differently and start becoming a person that's somehow a bouquet of different interesting realizations that's like only kind of come through you because you are kind of a unique composition of whatever it is that you have been consuming. But if you're only consuming like videos about filter sweeps and how to parallel compression, like eventually, like
it's gonna be
it's like just gonna feel a bit empty in the end, I think, as an artist. I don't know, maybe not for everyone, but in general,
for sure. No, I think so too. But I think there's also a general idea. Like, I think we're a little bit destroyed by the let's say, like from the modern art, kind of from Andy Warhol and up. What do you say? That maybe no, but this all the, and also street artists and stuff, and like to talk about, what do you say, someone like Jackson Pollock or something. You have this idea that to become like a known or like a good, not good, like make good artist, like a successful artist, you need to like redo the same thing like to perfection, like, or find your niche in art and just keep doing that, which is, I think, is a horribly bad concept. And I think it's very good to learn that most of those artists didn't even do that for the whole career. Like someone like Jackson Pollock just did those paintings for a very short while, and then he went on to other endeavors. And like this idea that you have to force yourself into this place where you actually know what you're doing is completely wrong, I think. There's no reason to know what you're doing. But like you said, just force yourself into all the, like, everything. Don't try to learn like a specific thing that's going to be your thing. Right. Keep evolving. Like, it's
because like simultaneously you might need the skill in order to express yourself with fidelity. So it's perfectly legit to want to learn the craft. It's like if you look at a Salvador Dali painting, he obviously knew how to paint, but what we remember is not specifically his skill in painting. Is like, what did he paint? That's what really mattered, right? And basically any piece of art, if we take paintings as an example, I don't think, like from the top of my head, I don't think anyone in history is remembered entirely through their skill with the brush. That's like a prerequisite. Like, you need to do that first of all, and then what they're remembered by is like what they painted. And that comes from their mind. That comes from who they are, what they see, what they like want to express. And that's something I found quite interesting with AI, because in this Mid-Journey, this open general channels, you can see everything that other people are prompting and what they're trying to do. And eventually, when the technology sort of helps you do anything you want, the only thing that remains, and then it becomes extra clear, this thing that we're talking about here, that also happens with music eventually, when you are able to do anything, is what, when you are there then, eventually, with Mid-Journey, you know how to prompt and everything. You need to tell it what to do. Right? And I think, and I notice a lot of people, there's just like bland and sort of like stuff. Like, it's very hard to think about something that's groundbreaking. Like, now you have the most amazing digital artist at your fingertips, and you can just tell him to do the most amazing art ever, but you just need to know what that is. And then it's like, what is that? I don't know. And how do you sort of develop that? And then you need to, then I need to sort of like put thousands of hours into looking at art, thinking about life, and questioning, like philosophizing about things, and like finding a context into where to put these things so that it gets the sort of impact that you want from it. And then it just like becomes this simple thing now that's at your fingertips, like, it all... and then you need to sort of go through that whole process anyways, of like sort of develop yourself as an artist, I think.
Yeah, it's the same.
Yeah, and
I'm absolutely sure that the generation before us sees us like the electronic music in that way. Like, it's just pushing some buttons, and it's not that simple.
Yeah,
I mean, it's electronic music is the AI of 20 years ago, so. I guess. In a way, it's maybe a bad argument, but I mean, it's like Brian Eno said that the art, like nowadays with all the equipment and like how generate. I mean, in one way, I think like as musicians we already have AI. I think that logic is very much an AI kind of environment, so to speak. It's like it can give me basically anything. If I know what I'm looking for, it can give me that very quickly. It's like. It's basically like an AI prompt, so to speak. It's just, it maybe takes some more time than just like, but it's, I mean, I have to know, I have to know certain things, but it's basically AI. So I think we're already there and been there for a very long time.
Yeah. And I think like when we're on the topic, I think sort of like, sort of speeds up the process. So it's like all of these technologies that come, they sort of make it easier and easier. They're sort of speeding up the process and enabling new things, and generally sort of, how would you say, making creativity available for more people. I don't know. I know there's a word for that, but you know, before you had a DAW, you needed a studio to make like electronic music or expensive synthesizers, and like the further you go, then like the more and more sort of difficulties is sort of like making it easier and easier and easier until the point where anyone will be able to make music. I guess it will be the same with Midjourney and music. Eventually, like anyone can write a prompt and they can make like write the Birds of Paradise track in the style of like that would fit on Berghain, like but then like or like play it in or like compose something for make a Birds of Paradise ambient album, and they will just be able to like reproduce what you're doing. And whatever anyone is doing. What do you think about that? Do you feel at all threatened by AI as an artist?
Nothing threatened with that.
Why not?
Because like I said also before, like to me the process of making it, this was important to me. So, and like how, I mean, if I can have new tools to make what I want, it would be maybe some part like I wouldn't really like the I think it's very hard to make transitions, like, and it's very fun for me to like it's like transitions in music, like drops and stuff. I don't do it a lot, but it's a hard thing for me, like to switch gears very suddenly. And I think if I could just tell a computer to make like a drop for me, that would feel like cheating for me, because it's something that's personally something I want to do myself. I wouldn't feel that's helping. It would be something that's actually would hurt my feelings, and that would be not bad, I guess. But I mean, it's not. I mean, I think that in one way people are saying that it's a new thing, and it's also, of course, it's a new thing. But I think that like what we're seeing, like it's already here. That it's more like the DJs that maybe like us, maybe 40 going on 40 men are not so interesting as DJs like to look at. I mean, it's good that like younger people get to be. It's. I mean, you need persons. These music needs like these artists. You know, like we need artists. We need people behind the music to look up to. And
Yeah, that's interesting.
AI, yeah. So we kind of. I think there's like, I mean, and I can already see this trend going out. Still looking for more interesting people rather than interesting music, because there's so much interesting music. We can almost see these people making this music as AI already. If that makes any sense.
Yeah,
You
I
know what
mean, I had a thought that maybe in the future there will be like a warning on music albums if they are AI generated, like if they are made by an AI, that it will say like AI generated. I think it would. I think it would be like an something that a consumer want to know when they relate emotionally to something. You know, whether it's like made by a human or something, like if they listen to something like a love story and they relate and they like love it a lot, and then they don't know it's made by an AI, that people can be a bit like sort of feel a bit violated emotionally, like taken advantage of by a computer. I don't know. It's very interesting, but because we are also neural networks, like the only largely like a big difference is that it's like silicon network, and our brain is made of meat basically. But like one thing that's I think, because this I think it also kind of drills down to what art is to some degree, and I think I haven't studied that a lot, and I know there are a lot of people who have, but it seems to me that largely it's some sort of study of the human conscious condition, right? Yeah. So it's like we die and we suffer, and if we didn't, then I don't know, like what we would express something about in a way. Like if we won't die and won't suffer, like what story would you want to see when there's like no issue to be reconciled, right? There's nothing to say, like if it's only, and that's one thing I think about AI, like it doesn't suffer the same we do. It doesn't die. What can it have, like what can it grip us with, you know?
Yeah. That's true.
I think a lot of the romance about being a human is this sort of limitations that we have, and sort of trying to overcome them and express our sort of despair towards our like imminent death, all of the misunderstandings that we have, and things that we don't understand, and things that we want to understand, and this kind of like feeling lonely, feeling all of this anxiety and all the imperfections that we have sort of inherited from nature, are sort of like exploring through art. And in that, I think that AI can never really,
for sure,
do art in that way.
No.
Like and also it's like especially like we are part of underground culture, I think, and for me underground culture is basically about being curious, and about like it doesn't matter how big it is, like basically every in a way, I don't know if it's a good definition at that point, but even if it's a huge culture for me, like for me, like the underground mindset is not about like it being small or smaller part in a way. It's about being curious. It's about like going to a venue and hoping to be challenged. Yes. Right. That's underground mentality for me. You go there, a DJ starts playing, you don't want him to play that kind of music that you want, and because that's kind of different between the mainstream and the underground for me. The mainstream are those that come to a club, and if they don't play the kind of music they like, eventually they will leave, or they will complain or whatever, while the underground kind of goes there with respect to the artist and wants to be challenged, and are more likely to leave if they aren't Like if they can predict everything all the time, like the all of the tracks sound the same. There's no like challenging stuff. There's nothing new. Yeah. And then the underground person leaves, and in that way, I consider like myself part of the underground culture, because that is what I want to do all the time. Like I want to explore new things and challenge myself, challenge you, challenge everyone on Hypnus, challenge our listeners, and like always sort of playing with these preconceived ideas of what it is that we're doing and trying to do, and also like this kind of curious digging into what there is there in music to do.
Yeah, talked about in that podcast about like the avant-garde and why, like, I don't know who wrote wrote some text. One of the only like philosophers that wrote about music, and I think it's very. He has some very good points about popular music and like why there's something like you can talk about formalization of music, but you can also talk about this. I don't know if. But where I come from with the music, there's a lot of talk about feeling in music. Like this has feeling, this has not had feeling, and we always talk about this as some kind of magical thing. And like you say, like this sometimes this underground thing that you're being like pushed is this kind of feeling, like let's call it feeling or whatever. Like I think he talks about it as truth value, like like if music has to have this kind of truth value, and the only like when you make music you can only for me this is my own perception of this, that you kind of have to create your own truth value, because either like you like in Hypnus we even if we challenge ourselves we still kind of make the same kind of like, it's not the same thing but it's a similar thing. So the way you challenge yourself is like a way that to create something that is true, you know. Even when I send stuff to you, you can very fast see like these 10 tracks, and you can see what track is true. Yeah. And I believe you're like when you tell me it's true, I usually like, yeah, you're probably right. I didn't know it before, but and you have that. To me, you have like a way of looking at music and looking at tracks within like the same kind of batch of things, and you can see something that is true within that track. Like it's, and I'm not talking about like challenging. It's like I'm farting on the track or something. but I think it's interesting, but like to analyze for myself what makes something true, because it's very hard to like grasp. It's very hard when you're making your own track to like see what's challenging and what's like what is true or what is like underground, or you can call it as many things. But it's, to me, it sounded like a little bit of what you were saying, like how to challenge yourself, because in the end of the day, I mean, commercial techno and our kind of techno sounds probably to my father very alike. I don't think he wouldn't tell the difference, but for us it's like these immense worlds apart. Yeah, and there's something about truth, like personal truth in there. And I think that to every artist who is like within the realm, it's very important to like think about that. And I think it creates a lot of problems if you feel that you never like are able to talk about this. To me, it's been like this thing, like I grew up in the music scene, and feeling was something that you should never really talk about. You should like, it should just be there. Like just if you just feel it enough, it just will be in the track, like, you know. And I don't think that's true. And I think, though, I mean, talking to you all these years, I don't think you believe it's true like that either. I think there's like, you can go get to that point with work, or it doesn't have to be like this ultimate feeling, or it can even be random. Like it could be completely random. But yeah, just a point on that, on what underground or whatever we want to call it is. I think it's some kind of like challenge, like a small. It's not always a huge challenge. It could be like this, like search for truth in what you do. There's
something about that.
I just wanted to put that in.
But that's interesting. Like when you send, because I guess like whether it's true or not, I guess that can sort of be interpreted in so many ways, like that's true. But in a way also, I guess a lot of sort of music that one might do, like it can also be a sort of repetition of more like a comfortable exploration, right? Yes. And the point here, I guess, where I guess what I'm reacting to many times is this thing when it feels like it was an exploration outside of the comfort zone, basically. By its kind of sounding different than the other stuff. And because, like, I don't want, basically, let's say, Hypnus to be a sort of regurgitation of doing the same record over and over, because you can, I mean, in a way, yes and no, but mostly not, because you can, like a lot of records that maybe we can make in our early days, maybe they sometimes could be made 10 years later with all of the realizations that we have then, and just have the idea come forward even more, and sort of like the idea isn't properly expressed yet, so you can do it like over and over in periods till we kind of nail it, to manage to say what we wanted to say in the way we wanted to say it, because in a way, like you say, it's like it's never done, so in a way it's always like, also like you're listening back to old stuff and you hear like there's a lot of heart and everything in it, but like the idea couldn't really come across for various reasons. But I guess also largely I think I consider when I make records for Hypnus together with artists is in a way a sort of like a B-side label. In a way, it's like all of the B-sides. Those are the tracks that I really like want. It's like not like have 3 A-sides bangers and then there's like one weird track in the end. I want the whole record to be like that weird track in the end. And then maybe have one banger, just to kind of feel that at least like there's some easygoing or something like that. But
no, but you can really hear it in the releases. But I think you also listen to so much music that you kind of like have an undermedveten,
subconscious,
I think, idea of what works like together in some way, you know.
And I guess like of what's new as well. That's very interesting, because also they talked about like being avant-garde today is very difficult because there's so much that has been done already. Like some people might think that something is new when they hear it because they have never heard it before, but it's highly likely that something has already been done by someone at some point. That's very interesting. Like the other weekend I heard a track from 2004, which was like very inspiring for me when I started Hypnus, and it just dawned on me that this track is like basically the sound of next year, because like everything is kind of like converging towards that, because like ever since like I started Hypnus, like one of my main goals has sort of been for psytrance and trance people to get into these kind of adjacent styles of techno, not the kind of like the industrial and very hard stuff, and vice versa, like the techno people to get more into like the adjacent style of trance, and the issue has always been that they sort of have a stereotypical image of what it is, and they're like, nah, I don't want to get into it, and I don't care. And they've been a bit lazy about sort of trying new things, and now I noticed like in the past year, maybe 2, that this is changing fast. Like now it's like usually during these 10 years when I've talked about this, it's been like a dead end, basically. Talking to most people, they're like, no, I don't know, like or maybe they think they have an opinion about it because like they heard some psytrance track sometime and like, no, I don't like that kind of stuff, but it's like there's so much there, and vice versa. And now it's like sort of becoming so obvious that there's a link that like it's even like now it's like like it has never been in any other way. Just like, yeah, of course, I like listen to trance and techno, and like everyone is like cross pollinating like crazy, and like which is very interesting. And then I can kind of hear how like there are some tracks from 20 years ago now, and I can hear like it's exactly the kind of sound that will emerge next year, because it's kind of this slow, deep trance hypnotic stuff that was made as B-sides 20 years ago in like like the record that I listened to is that kind of a breakbeat, ambient, ambient kind of thing, and it has like 2 trance tracks that are very slow, and then it's like a B-side, but it's basically exactly the music that people will make next year, and they will have a name for it, and it will be a new style of music, but like basically it's already sort of been done, yeah, and I guess that's something I noticed also, sort of like when you listen to a lot of music and demos and stuff like that, and when we make music, and what sort of maybe interests me as well when I make my own music, is also this sort of knowledge of what has been done, and really like digging in like all of the years, and what's been done, to be able to say like, but that's not new, like it's already been made, or take something that's like maybe this is what I think is kind of interesting, is to maybe find a niche track from 90s, but it has been made, but it never catched on, so like you can sort of like take it, expand it, and sort of like have it explode and grow into an entire culture, like one track. And I guess that's what's happening, I think, with like with the deep techno scene at the moment. I guess that's partly what's happening, because a lot of deep techno, some deep techno was made in the 90s at least, and it's been kind of like a boiling thing, but it wasn't until like 10 years ago when it really exploded, and like a whole culture was sort of ready for it. Right?
Yeah, for sure. It seems though, like you said, like they've been, but I have to say that in that case also, it's been like like he also said, like, no, there was another podcast. No, but that like the beginning, it seems like the people in the beginning was all a little bit more like architect people, a little bit more like, the black and white picture kind of. Very straight lines, very like almost like listening to a building, like the early like 10 years ago, like techno. What do we call it? Deep techno, deep techno, and now it's like getting slowly into the like adding sounds, so it will enter the trance realm.
Yeah.
Isn't that the case also a little bit, no?
Yeah, I guess so. And I guess it's also like what kind of environment you're imagining the music to be played in. Because like I never really wanted to, because that's been a bit interesting to see. It changed over the past 2-3 years maybe, but before that was really like, I had the idea that there was like what we wanted to do was to get to clubs and play music at the techno clubs, and that this was but that was never really what I wanted to do. No. Like there's always been this kind of more of a, I guess, like outdoor environment or festival environment, or like it matters. It's a different. It's very different. And it's different cultures, and that's something that I also been trying to like think a lot about, talk more about also as well, like the different of a music style and a genre, and how a genre can be seen as a sort of socio-political group of people. So it's like a group of people who are likely to appreciate the same kind of music, and that can kind of span many different musical styles. Like if you go to for instance, Roadburn Festival that we played in, which kind of specialize in heavy music. Yeah. But there's so many musical styles, right? But it's a genre that sort of unites these people. They have a certain mindset. They have a certain aesthetic. So it's like, even if it's new and if it's rock or ambient or whatever it is, there is something you can hear it in like, and then you can hear a jazz band, and then you can say, oh, I think these people will like this band, even though it's jazz. That doesn't matter, and that's where the difference that I have seen, and the culture I've seen, because in a way we have such a culture like on the farm, like in the psytrance scene that I've seen, and like the sort of people who like force psytrance, and they are like likely to like generally speaking different sort of musical styles. And then on the other end, let's say if we put them on a spectrum, there's techno people who like a certain kind of techno, and you can kind of predict what sort of music they would like, even if it's not techno. It can be ambient, it can be like like if you like an industrial techno, then maybe you are likely to like also some like dark ambient stuff, or maybe some industrial music or whatever. And if you're like psytrance, then maybe you will like I don't know, Sybient music, or like some world music, or whatever, and you can kind of like build this kind of patterns. And in between, I've seen a third genre, a third culture of people. There's a sort of like an overlap between these two in the middle.
Really?
And that's basically where I see our music coming in now. It's like basically people that have maybe some psytrance, maybe some they maybe picky, maybe they like some harsh techno, but most of it lies in the middle, in this kind of like experimental sphere of fusing all sorts of genres, and in a bit more like it's like I like techno in a way because it's kind of open what it like it very quickly becomes music. Right. Like it very quickly, like you just have to put a kick and it's techno. But like if you want to make many other genres, it needs to have like a specific sort of sound. While like the threshold you can kind of like stumble into techno, and you can just get going with it, and it's very open. And then within that sphere you can do so much, and that's what I like about it. Which was interesting. And that's actually one of the questions that I got on Discord. By the way, there's a link to Discord in the description, and also to David's Twitch, if you are interested in that. But there was one person who wrote on Discord, what has struck me is a diversity of genres across David's discography, yet retaining personal signature. Samuel from the podcast that we watched, and that I watched together and talked a lot about together with my Patreons, mentioned genres as constraints, pointing out how artists may wrongly view genres as a negative constraint in their artistic freedom. So I wonder how David balances those two when making music, and basically, I guess, how you view genres and musical styles, and maybe if you reflect anything on that in regards to your Birds of Paradise stuff. And
I think to like something you said now is very important to me. Like that, there are some genres like techno that has like I'm also a skateboard buff, so I'm going to use some skateboard terminology. But if it's like where there's some people that you can kill a spot. There's some genres that they are killed. Like I think Prodigy killed Big Beat. I think like maybe there's some genres that you cannot really, like, they're not open anymore. They are killed.
Why and how were they killed?
Because some people did it too good.
yeah. That's interesting. I mean? Yeah, that's very interesting.
Yes, they did it too good. It made it like they were like they made it to this point and then you have like these genres where they have the fundamentals of being the most like beautiful thing ever, but they are not dead yet. And to me, techno is like that. Of course, there's been so much like techno that's I want to be in all those genres. So to me, doom metal and like sludge metal and all these like metal, like slower metal genres and are like that. Techno is like that. Krautrock to me is also like that. Of course, it's been so much done in all these genres, but
but it hasn't been cracked yet. Like we're still trying to crack the style in a way. That's very interesting.
But still, I feel that like even if it's not cracked, there's still like there's so much beauty in just the fundamental of it. It's like there's some genres. It's like food, you know. There's like I like Thai food. I can eat the Thai food for 50. I like the shit Thai food. I like the good Thai food, but I like the shit Thai food even more because it's like doesn't matter to me how much it is or something. Like I can feel this about. It's maybe not a good analogy, but some genres is just like Thai food. Like it's good even if it's bad to me. It's like techno is always good, and krautrock is always good, and I try to, you know, remain in these genres that like you said, you can just, but not to like make it like easier than there's some like if you have to come to a place with good intentions, you know, you cannot like. There's sometimes I can see people that are maybe more from my place where they've been doing like sound design, and then they like in a very bad way said like, you just put a kick on it and then it's techno, and they always do very bad stuff, like because it's not only a kick on it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's so much more, and you have to really put you have to, like I had a friend who said like whatever you do you have to treat your material with respect, and then I think like this that might be the key to like keep some kind of like, I don't know, red thread, we say a thread, to like always treat what you do with respect, and also with maybe of course like a bit of humor, but if you treat it with, go into these genres with respect. I mean, I work with kids like that are like 12, 11 to 16 years old, and they can listen to like metal for 1 week, and the week after that come with a new like a metal t-shirt, and like after 1 month they're like already a part of that community, and they could do it, you know, they're so quick to like become a part of something, and the older we get, we're very slow to think ourselves a part of something. And I think to switch genres or to switch like just make yourself a kid, but treat it with respect, and it will, I mean, that's a lot of different thoughts about that, but there's a lot to be said, but I think it's just, you also have threads in what you do, like this also, like if you go into a new genre with like the sounds you have, but like you said, like if you know your gear, like if you know everything, it doesn't matter what genre you're playing in a way. You can still fuck it up though, but still it's like the thread will be there because you have your favorites, you have your sounds, you have your way of looking at every part. It's not like you have your ways of looking at reverb, you have your ways of looking at delay, you have your ways of movement, you have your ways of like layering and like foreground, background, all these stuff, like they're not something that's in the genre, they're in your like perception of like how the like maybe the realm of reference of how you hear a piece of music through headphones or something, you know.
And I guess like some of the music that I make many times, like I just wonder, like I don't know what it is. Like genuinely, I'm very interested because I'm very interested in and this is I think it's a bit it's not uncommon to encounter a sort of knee-jerk reaction when talking about genres, about putting labels and like trying to listen to a piece of music and sort of trying to break down what style is it, what genre is it. It's common to encounter this kind of stop putting words on it, just listen to the music, like shut up basically. But I'm very interested in it because I think I'm very interested in language in general, and I see music as a language, and this kind of study of music and being able to put words to it, and the work, sort of academic work put into getting a language for music allows us to communicate about it better, and I really like that. I'm very interested in it. I can switch out of it and don't do it, and I can also I like to think about and talk about it, and and many times like when I listen to like some ether mechanics music that I make, like I don't know idea what it is, Or if it's even music, sometimes it's very weird, and it's not like I set out to try to make something. I guess I don't know really. It's like I guess it's a very it's a very conceptual project, and I don't really know what that how that affects it. Like being experimental. I guess it's partly the sort of exercise of putting decisions into a framework outside of your control in a way. Like if you analyze bird song and then you extract rhythms from that and put it into your hi-hats or whatever, like it can be considered like a sort of experimental thing, although it might not be avant-garde because again, so much has already been done. Like, and I noticed that in some like sort of experimental electroacoustic music and stuff, like largely all they're doing is just like being weird and abstract, you know, and that's so simple in a way. It's like just like be weird. Just take a weird sound and put as much weird effects on it as possible, and like, whoa, this is sick. Like, yeah, well, you know, it's I don't know what it is.
Yeah,
that was a huge sidetrack, though. I don't know what I'm talking about anymore.
No, but I mean, that's like to. I think that there's always room to like analyze everything. Like I think you should come to a point when you can feel that way about your own music, like that you only do weird stuff. Like I think there's also I used to be afraid of analyzing myself and my music, and like because either way I was like my self-esteem was too low about it. I always like thought it was bad, or I thought that some part of it would break if I analyze it too much. Or like if I analyzed the art I loved like in that way. But I think it's very important to always like I said with my teacher in the beginning, like if you hear something, like what do you like about it and what do you don't like about it? That's you know, and even if you just do weird stuff, like I fucking love that you did weird stuff, but why did you make weird stuff? Or is it only weird stuff, or like how did you work? Like it's weird now. How did it develop into the next part? Or like, it's so fun to analyze music and art in every way. And then usually you realize when you think about, like me and my girlfriend usually go to a lot of exhibitions, and sometimes you can just feel like this art piece is really beautiful, but it doesn't work somehow. And then we can just go for hours and discuss it, and then usually we come to some kind of conclusion why it didn't work. You know,
and that's how you develop taste.
Yeah, for sure.
That's how you develop taste. You consume and reflect, I guess.
Yes.
Right. If you want to develop a taste in music, you have to listen to music, and not only listen to it. I mean, you go somewhere by just listening to it subconsciously, but. Thinking about, do I like this or not? Yes. Okay, I like some parts I don't, or I like it, and then you're like, why do I like that and not that? And the more you sort of like to dig into that, the more I think, and I think it universally true that we develop a taste, and this is so important when you create art, I think, because when a person, anyone, is creating art, it starts with, first of all, an idea, and then it's just thousands of micro decisions all the time, and every decision stems from your taste. Like if you're choosing a kick drum, first of all, you go through, let's say you have a sample folder of kick drums. The first decision is, which one do you pick? Like already there you are separating yourself from everyone else. And then which one you choose and you put it in the track. Do you EQ it, or do you just go on the next track? And there already you're branching out from everyone else again. And then very quickly you are into your own unique sort of path, where it's just like micro decision after micro decision, and all of those come from your taste. Like if you listen to music and like, why do I like this and not? You know why. and then you also know like you refine your ability to, or sort of like your sensitivity to quality in a way.
Yes.
Right.
For sure, and that's and that there's two sides to that, like because music has the like ljudliga kvaliteten, the audible quality.
Yeah.
But stuff also has like social qualities, like maybe I could make something like I can imagine a situation where I made a track and I send it to you, and I haven't realized that I made the track with the intention of sounding cool.
Yeah.
There was cool elements in there.
Yeah,
there was some part of my like personality, or the something I wanted to like put out into the world that was not like a musical like thing. It was more of a like a social thing.
Yeah.
And that can be a reason for something musical not to work as well. Like usually in this kind of music we make, I think like I have an allergy to when I myself, and usually other people as well, when they're trying to do something that's cool.
Yeah.
And you can really hear that you can hear in the music that they made something that was supposed to be cool.
Right. And I think the mainstream is basically about doing the coolest thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. It's about doing the cool thing, and the one who does the cool thing the best is the one that has the headline.
Yeah.
Right. So everyone is trying to do the same thing, and the one who does it best, they're the star, basically.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, like to talk about also quality, which I mentioned previously. It's also something I think, or I hear fairly frequently, that's subjective, which it is to some degree. But I've heard about studies done on art where basically some sort of test group, I don't know how they pick them. I assume they have a scientific method for choosing the people who do this, who are included in the study. Anyways, there's a very, very big correlation when they are asked to look at art and value it. And basically, there's a very, very strong pattern of like, if they look at 10 paintings, basically everyone points at the same painting. This one has the highest quality. So like, really? It's very interesting. Like in terms of like the subjectivity of quality, because I think it's like, you can say like what I think sounds good doesn't necessarily another one think, and maybe vice versa. But interestingly, there seems to be at least some arguments for that the more you sort of expose yourself to critically evaluate your impressions and your opinion, and you refine it over time through this process, that people start to sort of close into similar idea spontaneously about what quality is. It's very interesting. And like we can, for sure. And like to some degree, there needs to be some sort of I don't know, objective, but it's beyond subjective point to quality, because we have art as a category, and for that to mean anything at all, there has to be some sort of criteria for when it's art. If it's totally subjective, then like everything is art. There is some sort of beyond subjectivity measure by which it's still subjective, but it's not, because we know when something is art and not. Maybe sometimes it's unclear and we can discuss it, but largely it's like it's a category, and like it doesn't mean anything if it's totally subjective, because, or at least that's a thought I have based on that.
Processing, what do you say? No, but it's I am just like, I kind of got stuck on the thought about like, because you told me this art was like paintings, no?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, just like thought like maybe music is not. Music has some like talk. Thinking also about the podcast that there's something about music that is like special in how
Yeah.
it's perceived. That it maybe it's not like as obvious. I think
Yeah.
it would
Yeah.
deviate more than a painting.
It's also
I
not
think.
obvious whether music is art, which I think is very
No,
interesting.
exactly.
I
No.
think that's something that I'm also many people assume it is, and they express it like the way. Maybe it is. I don't know. I remember a long time ago, I was friends with someone who just came from studying art at the contemporary art school. Like they spent 5 years basically studying what art is.
Yeah.
And this person was completely sort of confused when I talked about music as art.
Yeah.
Because during their their studies of art, they never even like mentioned music at all as an art form, like in contemporary art or whatever. It's weird.
Yeah.
A bit weird to me. Because in a way, like clubs can be seen as a sort of galleries
Yeah.
in a way, but it's also like it's entertainment, right? Like a lot of it is not art to always. It can be like if the venue is and the event is specifically meant as an artistic sort of whatever the difference is, but largely, and this is something that I've been thinking about a lot when I'm thinking about art and music, and whether music is art or not, is this factor of music being entertainment. And I don't know if art is supposed to be entertaining. What do you think
I don't
about
know
that?
either, but I know that's we might need more words for. It's like love. We might need more words for love than one, when we might need more words for art than one as well.
Yeah.
Because it's a like, but that maybe also that's why we have to talk about something like maybe, I mean, in a way, maybe you can be artful in like placing a floor in a building or something. I don't know. The discussion on what is art is a very big question, and it's probably quite subjective. I think people are probably very different on seeing what is art, and especially somebody who's been in an art school, like in art. I spent some time in art school, and after that, it's like going through a microwave. I wouldn't recommend going to art school. It's my worst enemy. But, no, I'm joking, but it's not good. It's good, like, but it takes some time getting over. It's like you can end up good in the end, but I mean, it's I also think we're in a time now with like all the social media stuff and like the visualization of like something like Instagram and stuff, that the artist has become much more of like more of a popular profession, you know. Artists, like it's been like when I grew up, before that, like nobody wanted to be an artist, everybody wanted to be an actor. Right. Now I see like people want to become want to become an actor, it's like a high social status profession, and to I think that like I don't like the word, but there's some gatekeeping going on there, like, but there's some gatekeeping going on, like in the like high art to what is art, and like, and of course, I mean I can feel the same way. If you studied 3 years and you come out basically the same as before with the same interests, and you kind of want to feel more than everybody else, you know, you kind of want to feel that what you're doing is, I don't know, special in some way, or you know. But I really generally don't think you are. That's why I think that this, like, you have to always like you have to criticize everything, like what's good and what's bad and what doesn't make something. If you just like enjoy the process of like thinking what is art, then you're fine. You don't even have to think about it, because it's just, you know. For me, that helps me with the process of dealing with these subjects.
Yeah. I mean, I've come around and changed my opinion a lot about what art is. I used to have a way more restrictive sort of idea. I think these days like basically it's I guess it's broadly just what touches people in the end. In a way, so it's like very broad, and I don't really care about whether it is or not. Although I do enjoy sort of trying to establish a difference between art and entertainment, just to sort of help the mind being a bit more clear when thinking about things in general. Because if everything is art, like we use words to think, and the concepts sort of helps us to like terms helps us contextualize the world in our mind when we think about things. So like if I can't, like the more I'm able to be precise with terms, terminology and concepts in my head, the more precise I can be in my thinking about things in general. So I kind of like at least try to have some sort of separation between entertainment and art. And it's a neutral thing. It's not valuing. It's not like that's not art and it's like it's only entertainment. It's two different things. They have no value. Like inherent sort of better or worse. They're just different things. Maybe. Like, and I'm trying to kind of establish that because I think it's
no, but I think
interesting.
Yeah. I think so. I will actually send you, but this is exactly what like Adorno talks about.
I never heard about that. I really want to hear that and read it.
Yeah, it's very hard to read, but there is some. I mean, that's a tricky question, like the entertainment, and like he said in the podcast, like also as well, like music has so many places and so many like there's so much. I mean, uses for music, and that's maybe why it's hard to see as art. Like he said, like it's for elevators, but it's for the most. It's for the in one way the highest art of all, and then the lowest art of all, and it's and all like serves a purpose and a function in society, I guess.
Yeah, and that's also one of the interesting things that they said in this conversation was also how music has this ability to, like, even in the most depressed states where everything else loses its meaning, like nothing matters, colors lose, like you don't want to do anything. You're the most depressed state in your life. Even then, music is able to touch us. That is so fucking sick.
Yeah. I get a little
and that's so
bumps when you said
that. That's so fascinating. And like what is music then? And also like the fact that there's music for everything, like they said as well. Like there's music for everything from having like a religious experience where we use music to sort of accentuate our spiritual and existential sort of longing for like to merge with whatever. And then we also have music for like the elevator. Where it's sort of like dehumanizing, like, and we have music for absolutely everything. So interesting. And something I was thinking about when you talked about how people today, they want to be artists, and it's become more and more of a sort of like a I mean, it's like more and more like influencer kind of style. And I guess this is one of the downsides of the evolution of technology and what people are afraid of generally when they see AI, because this just allows more and more posers to take the kind of like the limited space there is in the sort of attention arena. Like there's only like so much attention and so much people available, and the easier it is to be a DJ, the easier it is to make art, the easier it is for people who don't put in the work and maybe are like, maybe they are more beautiful, or they are more socially competent, and they are more and they are able to sort of like take the spaces which were already so hard to get to for struggling artists. And like I guess that was because I remember when the sync button came to DJing, like it was it was a very contentious thing where people were very, very like upset. It was so like it really divided people. It was exactly the same discussion as it is today with AI, and the result is like in a way twofold. Like one of them is that we are able to do a lot more today as DJs. Like you can do looping and do like all sorts of things that's very difficult to do. I mean, you can loop on a CD, but like if you have vinyls, and all these technologies enables us to do more. And that's great, and that's like really evolved the DJ culture. And the negative side of it is that there has been a sort of like a at least what it seems to be a more shallow sort of culture around it, where people where real DJs, like people who maybe are very passionate about it but don't have the social skills or don't have the looks or don't have the interest to be like an influencer or anything like that, they can't compete.
No, for sure.
They can't compete. So everything, like the competition now is like, if you want to be an artist, you also have to be an influencer basically to like to make it. And that's I guess that's one fear with AI, and it's legit. But like, I also blame the, like, for me when I see that, I just think about like what club is that? Like like the booker, they are booking, right?
Yeah.
And if I go to a club, like I'm gonna judge the club based on their taste in whoever they book. And if it's shit, I'm not gonna go there. And if people ask me what I think about it, I'm like, no, I don't like it because they only book like that doesn't inspire me, and I will continue to look for an organizer who puts effort and time into booking like a bit more interesting stuff, right?
Yes.
So in the end, the sync button, I don't care. Like if it allows some people who maybe wouldn't have been a DJ before to be that, like fine, like
for sure.
Yeah, it doesn't affect me.
Really? No, but
at all.
And if it makes you frustrated enough to like go even weird at what you're doing, it helps you as well. Maybe you get a little bit frustrated at first, but if you've made you like get to somewhere else, it's also maybe worth it for you. I mean, everybody, you can find your way around it in your brain so that everybody wins. There's always a way. No, but that's I think it's basically, I mean, whatever you get frustrated about, like if you have a genuine interest in what you're doing, like of course it helps if you have like a community. It's important to build community around what you're doing, like in some manner. Like I don't know if anybody here or you will have listened or read anything about John Cage.
Very little.
No, but you know who he is. He was the
he made this he's done this interesting music art stuff.
Yeah, he made like the silent piece, like 433.
Yeah,
like
the one that plays like one note every like 40 years or something like that.
Yeah, it's like the still going on piece, and he's a very feel good. If you wanted to read something that makes you happy about art and about sound and stuff, you should read his stuff because it's very soulful and very smart, and he's a very a father figure, like in the most beautiful way. And he talks about like if you make something that's like even if it's like it's better to just make music for one person out there. Like if you just touch one person, it's worth it. Like you should not think about. And also, like I usually think that even if I play the biggest crowd, if I play the smallest crowd, there's always like roughly the same amount of people who are really there to listen to me and like to really listen. It's not doesn't matter if it's like one person or two person, or like doesn't matter if somebody else get a gig. We're already like music is already a like one of the art forms where like almost everybody gets room. Like if you go to like gallery art or something where people like
that's true.
You know, there's like one or two, 4 exhibitions every year or something, maybe 3, and then in the clubs you have like 5 DJs every night. It's like we're already very good off in the like in terms of art. Like it's there's no reason to like really get frustrated with anything. I think like
it's also interesting like how it's consumed, since like if you go in a gallery you can just like walk past the paintings that you don't like in a few seconds and then you can stop for however long you want on the painting that you like, talk about it, while in music you're sort of stuck with whatever there is. You can't choose. It's just very interesting.
For sure.
And different.
It's just strangest art form.
That was something that I was like when you said about building communities, and we talked a bit about it before, like why do these things and where does it come from? And I think like for me, to a very large degree, it's coming from frustration, like almost always. Like whatever bothers me, like that's what gets me out of bed, basically. Like if there's something about the world that's annoying, like it's really motivates me to sort of either get out of bed and let people know what I think about it, you know, and then in one way or another, it can be through art or just to fix it. Like for instance, like with Hypnus, for instance, I started making music, which was probably largely because I see and heard some music that didn't exist in a way, and I just really wanted to kind of go at it, and then I wanted to release my music. And I did so a bit and realized like it's this very difficult to find a label that I found like was cool and like nice. So it was not like there was already, in my opinion, like a lot of labels, and I also wanted to do one. It was more like there isn't anyone, so I'm gonna create. I'm gonna create the fucking best label for an artist. And make like to be like to really try to do it like the way I think it should be done.
Yes.
You know.
Yes.
And then it's just like that all the time. It's like with the Max for Life devices that we made as well. It was more like, I really want an LFO with a pentagram, and I really want it. I don't want to make it, but no one else is gonna make it. So I'm just like, okay, how the hell do I make it? Then it's like, ask a friend, do you know anyone that can do this? And like, oh, maybe. And then eventually find someone like, oh, I want to do this. And like, oh, it's great. And then just randomly with Slink, I was in Alex's studio and he made something. And I saw it. I'm like, shit, that's so cool. And then it's like, I have to make it.
Yeah.
It has to exist, you know. Otherwise, it's just going to bother me. And in a way, like one of the issues I've had personally... since I quit school, was that everything has been a bit all right.
Yeah.
Like I've had like money issues for so long, and then just finally I'm in a place then where it's not an issue anymore a bit, so I can relax. Yeah, and there's so many things that just fell into place, like huge things. And then I was like, well, now what the fuck am I gonna do? Like I literally was laying in bed like, what am I gonna do today? And then it's like, what happened was that I just like went out for a walk. And that was great. I mean, it was great, but it was interesting because so much of my life have been characterized by working my ass off every day, doing things. And then all of a sudden, like I've done all the things and I'm like, okay, what am I going to do now? It's very interesting.
I've seen your schedules. They're the opposite of mine. They're the most fucked up I've seen. Just cluttered.
Yeah.
5 minutes, like small, insane.
Yeah. It needed for shit to get done, I guess.
No, but I understand. It's like that's I hate like the usually it's so much people saying that referring to comedians these days, but I want to do it here because I think it's very like there's so much power in that, like to visa de jävlarna, show the best.
Exactly. Like, that's the thing. Yeah. It's the same when I make music as well. Like the best music I make normally is when I'm annoyed.
Really?
Yeah. And if I feel like, that's almost exactly what I feel, but it doesn't make any sense in my head. But it's literally this feeling like I'm going to show, I don't know who, I'm going to show some sort of cosmic whatever, what I think.
Yes.
And then I'm going to sit open Ableton and I'm like, I'm going to show someone something, how the fuck it's going to be done. Yes. And then I kind of revolt in that moment and like kind of crank up the volume and I'm like, yeah, fucking go harder or do that and like weird and like, okay, you think you can...
I can't hear you.
All right. Oh, wait. Maybe I need to send you a new one. Are you there? Okay. Maybe it broke. Wait, 1 second. I just get my phone.
I'm back.
Oh,
I'm
oh
back.
no. Okay, cool.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's something like that. Like it's like a revolt, which is
Yes.
interesting. I just noticed that differently because I mean, I've done some interesting things that sound interesting, but it's normally like I want to challenge, I guess, myself, but it is sort of directed at someone else when I'm doing this sort of life. Can you handle this, basically?
Yes.
Like I want to push some kind of weird, like a sound. Like I want it to be challenging. I want to myself be unsure whether this is gonna cringe people the fuck out or if it's like gonna interest people. That's like in a sort of place where I personally noticed that I make the best music, and I don't know if it's healthy, but I've also noticed with myself that I get very competitively sort of how to say, motivated to do things.
No, but it's good.
Yeah,
I think that's usually that's the best artist I've played with have that.
yeah.
I'm not like that at all. I cannot make music at all when I'm frustrated. Like
Not even your noise stuff.
that's more like performance-wise. Yeah, I can go into like when I'm performing, I can get into frustration, you know. But when I make stuff, it's more like laying a puzzle or something. It's just like you know, it's like like drawing a line and just see what it becomes. That kind of feeling, like more of a. But I wouldn't say I would probably be very good for me to make some music when I was frustrated. It would make I should try it, but it's hard to keep from.
I can help you. Just let you know when you want to be a bit annoyed. You know, I'll call you up. You know, I'll think of some insults and.
That's perfect. Just give me some insults.
Yeah, plenty of material for that.
Perfect. You told me to check your comments and stuff. I didn't need.
Oh yeah.
Now,
I haven't even seen them.
No, there's some comments, and somebody says a long time ago, perhaps, love your music. It's turned on to minimal by Dutch friends. Reach laser raver, found digital. Thank you. And then, do you both know how popular your type of music is getting Australia?
No idea. No idea.
And then there's some hello hands. Musical genres are just labels invented by journalists. Music is a matter of resonating and taste. Not a bad comment.
I agree with that. Although I suspect like a pejorative sort of tone there towards the journalist, like it's a bad, filthy thing. I don't think so. And I guess like it's an academic thing as well in a way. Journalists and academics. So like sure, I agree with that. Although just want to make clear that I don't see that as something negative. Maybe just a factual statement.
Yes.
And in that way, I am a journalist and I am an academic in a way, as well as an artist. Like because I do write articles about music and art on my Patreon, and I do discuss it a lot, and I do utilize that thing when I do everything I do.
You're one of them.
Exactly.
I have another question here. Somebody asked, hello, just joined. This is great. How do you think techno will look 10 or 20 years from now?
Yeah, that's interesting, because one thing I spontaneously said to a friend the other day was that one of my, the concept of a muse?
A muse?
Yeah.
No.
It's basically like a sort of like a mental, how do you say, like a lover or something that you're trying to seduce and make the music for, in a way. So it's like a mental sort of like let's say you're writing a novel and you imagine someone that you're writing it to, and it's your muse, and it can actually be a person, it can be your idea of a person, or anything like that. And what I realized is that I think a lot, like since I'm digging a lot in music and history, I'm very interested in music history and study like it as much as I can, like every decade and different genres and why people made a certain kind of music, what it meant, how they did everything like that. And in a way, like now, a lot of music I make is to kind of get a reaction from people 10 years from now. Like if I make if I put out a record now, in 10 years, I want to play it to someone and ask them what they think. Like, and I want them to look back at this time and think like, what was going on over there at that time, you know? Like when I look back to like one of my favorite years in electronic music is just around the turn of the millennium, like 2000, 2001. There's like so much amazing music in that time. And in every genre, like all of the, so many nice metal albums and shit. So it's very, very interesting. And I want people to maybe look back. I'm trying to impress people like 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now. In a way.
That's a good.
In a way, like to answer the question, I don't know. Maybe like the music that we are making.
Yeah, maybe it's a loop and it sounds exactly the same.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It's like probably, my father, ever since I grew up, he always like very like proud because he wears the same jeans all the time, like Levi's, and they get like a bit torn. And he always says like he is a very very trendy like every 10 years because like all of the trends goes in circles. So like every 10 years, like he always like, yeah, I'm trendy again now.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. They always said that dads look like when they had the most fun.
Yeah, that's such a good thing to say. Yeah.
No, but maybe that's kind of like it's hard. We're not supposed to like know what it's supposed to sound in 20 years. I'm not. I kind of feel the only person I can relate to like trying to make predictions on what the future is going to be is Alexander Bard for some reason, and I'm not a big fan of that guy. Yeah. And that would say nothing to like a person from.
No, he's a very interesting character at least.
It's interesting, but it's interesting, but I think it's some kind of. It would be very uninspiring to see the future, and it would be to me my standards. I don't know if that's the right word, but a little bit cynical, in my view. So I will say that I have no clue. But the only thing I think is it's going to be more like you said with the that we're going to have new type of releases. I think that. Something maybe like you said that you can change stuff within the track, like you would have more like maybe not interactive releases, but reactive releases, like releases with the you can change the snare yourself, or you can I would think we will have different ways of listening and experiencing music on a personal level. I think that maybe you have this listening to just a documentary about when the Align Array came and what they did to live concerts, and I think like the live concert these days is pretty much perfected, but like personal listening, I think there's a lot like technology wise that's going to happen there. Yeah. So like, and I hope that the like silent rave will become a big thing. I really hope so, because I think it's an incredible thing. Yeah, I agree. And I think also like the way we consume music is going to change in the coming 10 years a lot in general with media, and I don't know if it necessarily AR or stuff like that, but Spotify is like it's the first generation of streaming, and it's like one of the biggest revolutions in music history. Like it changed. It's like basically as revolutionary as the microphone and recorded music in general. It just completely changed everything about music. And the way I see it, it's just the first generation. It's not going to be forever. There is going to be something else later. For sure. Like this is just the first one. And I also think that like it's also like when we grew up, computers were new, and like we can literally remember time before the internet. And
this is like the first kind of wave is just like dashed into the internet and just like digitalizing everything, and just like more and more digital, more and more like blah blah into it. And I think eventually, once this hyper dive into the digital has been done for a while, people are just gonna get tired of it.
Yeah,
I think more and more that's gonna change a lot how we relate to the digital world, because I see like the trend is pointing into more digital, and then you see meta, like, oh, we're gonna do the metaverse so that you can just like create a world in there, and it's a huge flop, because I think that eventually people just get fucking bored there. I think eventually I think people will notice that the real world is more fun, and that the digital would be more like a sort of a tool to help like sort of like keep track of the world that's so complex. It's like you need the algorithms to find the kind of music you like. You need to connect with your friends and to look up facts and to share images and stuff like that. But in more and more like sort of like put it down and start to enjoy the world, I think will be.
Yes.
I think it's gonna be a counter, because they talked about that in the podcast as well. How like the one constant in music has been like it's very strict, and then people revolt against it by sort of breaking the rules, to the point where there are no rules anymore. And then people start to impose rules, and they just oscillate back and forth all the time. I think it will be the same with technology basically now. It's like been digitalizing so much to the point where I think eventually it's going to be like a huge revolt and release away from the digital and back to like real life and back and forth, I think. And I think that will be very interesting to see in the coming 10 years. Specifically, because there's so much happening now in the digital sphere.
Yes, I think so too.
Yeah. Were there any more questions in the comments?
No.
All right, cool.
Actually not.
Cool. I do have two more things. I don't know how you are about time.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, for sure.
There are two things that came from questions on Discord. One of them is, what are your thoughts about the role of an artist in today's society? And it's something I'm thinking about a bit as well, because I listened to a conversation recently with an art collector. And they talked a bit about art, and this art collector is very sort of interested in the relationship between money and art. How you can turn an idea into money, and like how it can corrupt art, but it can also preserve art. And it's just like interesting how the sort of art economy works, and why is like an art worth millions, and how does that work? And like he also talked about like he bought a painting and he was so happy about it. It was his first painting that he ever bought, and he was so happy. And then later he realized that he has been ripped off. And then like the painting, he just didn't like it anymore. Now it wasn't as fun. It's interesting, like where did the value lie exactly? Also this example, like you see a guitar, and you're like, I don't like it so much. And then that was Elvis Presley's guitar, and you're like, oh really? Oh shit. Then it's like worth more. And where is that value exactly? It's not in the guitar. It's like somewhere in the kind of like a cosmic conscious plane. Is it somewhere in the web of human consciousness and memories and whatever, some kind of structure, which is interesting. But what they said then, which I thought was a bit, I never heard it before, and I probably a bit provocative, is that what they said. Well, basically, I don't know if it was exactly like, if you can't make a living of your art, you're not an artist. Okay. That was his position that he kind of glossed over. I never heard anyone say that, and I assume it's a very controversial thing to say. Yeah. But it made me think in a way about what an artist is. Then, like, if you are making art and you can't get traction of it, does it necessarily mean that what you're doing is just, I don't know, Do you have any thoughts on that? Because I'm definitely not saying that I agree with it at all.
No.
Actually, like in the past, I've been started to thinking like that. In a way, everyone are artists. That's more of how I personally see it. Like that, everyone is. It's not something that we are. That everyone is. Yeah, you know what I mean.
That's actually exactly what I was about to say. I think that. He is completely wrong. I mean, in Sweden we have something called hantverk. I don't know.
Yeah, the craft.
Yeah, exactly, crafts. Yeah,
I think so.
So you can like if you want. I mean, crafts is the one that pays the bills. You know, it's. I think that the artist is supposed to these days. There's a reason why we're going more theoretical and stuff in the art schools and stuff, because the artist now has like a real like role in society, and maybe it always had like more like a political position. I mean, there's a reason, like if you go to the big like big institutions like the Documenta or maybe the Venice or some of the big like biennales, and the people are like from minorities or like these groups that like have something to say, like, and change people's perspective like politically. I think like those are to me like much more. I see what I do something more along like arts and craft, and like if you want to really say what an artist's role, like what I perceive as a real artist. I think somebody like that really takes like their position of their history and works to like tell a story for the world and make a new perspective on some like social matter, or just provide a feeling for people that it's actually important, or like change their view on stuff. I think.
But is there some sort of level of sacrifice for the art needed for it to kind of, like for instance in Swedish we have we say konstnär. And it's very different, like because we have konstnär and artist, and those mean different things. Like Justin Bieber an artist, right, and Picasso was a konstnär. Yeah. And in English it's the same word as far as I can tell, and it's a difference. Like for instance, if you ask someone like, what do you do, and they say, jag är konstnär, I'm an artist. Like, what do you think about that if they are actually working as a mechanic and they are painting like paintings in the evenings and drinking beer, like, and they say, I'm a konstnär, I'm an artist?
If I think that's a legitimate.
No, I don't know, but there is something baked in that. Like, you don't say that generally.
No.
Like those who say like jag är konstnär is almost exclusively people who make a living with their art.
Yeah, that's true.
And maybe not even all. I think maybe even half of them, those who do make a living of art, wouldn't even say it.
True. That's true. That's true.
Right. And there's like almost like you have to come to sort of like a point with your artistic expression where you actually like start to think and like have to be sort of pat yourself on the back and say like, am I a konstnär now? Like, and like, jag är en konstnär, start like, and I guess in that there's some sort of sacrifice then in it that you do for the art. Like you're working, but you're working in order to be able to do your art in a way. So there's some sort of like there's some truth to like everyone is an artist, as in everyone is a creative, everyone has art in them, everyone has emotions to express aesthetically. And then there is some sort of category of people who can't and this was very interesting, but which I talked about in the podcast as well, like why do artists go through all the trouble, like why do artists take the narrow road and go through this hell that it can be to be an artist? Like you don't have money, no one believes in you, you don't believe in yourself, and like you're trying to do this, why go through all that pain? And when they said like it's because the option is worse, like if you don't do it, then you're gonna be even more miserable, because then that's gonna eat you. So you just have to do it.
Right.
But it's
also like, I mean, the I mean, life is horrible.
Yeah.
But you can also think of it like it's very rare that people find something that they want to put all their time into like this. If you know exactly what you want to do with all your spare time, like a lot of people, like artists do maybe, and put it into one place. I think that's, I mean, that just to comment on what you just said, that there's a happy way to look at it.
Yeah.
It's actually a blessing in disguise that you actually get. And I think he did it like, he did a very good point, because they were talking about a lot of like in this podcast about like rabbit hole or blah blah, and he just in the end just changed it to this glowing beautiful place.
Yeah. It's not a hole, it's like a blissful state. Yeah.
Yes to
Right. Because the hell is the not doing it, right?
Exactly.
So like when you finally get a release, and then that's like a blissful state.
Yes.
And that's very interesting, and it leads me also to that point, because when I was listening, I listened to that podcast like 5, 6, 7 times, like really closely, and taking notes and stuff. And then one thing that they never really made super clear to me was like, okay, why do artists do it? Fine, they gave a straight answer to it, and then they kind of left the question open as to why do people go through the trouble of digging through, like the avant-garde listeners, because like they say that they are part of this selection process that is a constant. Like we now listen to all of the music from the 60s has been sort of dug out by people one way or another, and it's been sifted through time and kept in time through like a selection process, and now we are in that selection process. So now, like when we are in the underground and we're like have this bombarded wall with new stuff, and we have to kind of go into that and spend a lot of energy and time to just like dig through all of the things we don't like in order to find those things that we do like. And why do people do that? Like why do consumers go through the trouble of digging through so much trash in order to find these nuggets? And the answer wasn't clear to me, but they did sort of answer it, I found eventually. And that is when they talked about what good music is.
Yeah.
And they said that it's that good music is like it's a way to construe the world in a way. I don't remember exactly what they said. I wonder if I can find it, but it was something like, I think I have it here. Wait. Here he said like, well, basically what the sentiment was anyways, was that when you hear a piece of, or see or experience a piece of art that grips you, your world grows. Like you couldn't imagine it before, but now you hear it, and now just your mind just expands. Like, this is possible. Now you get ideas about what the world could be like through innovative and challenging ideas. That is this kind of hunger for expanding one's sort of view about the world, that this is the kind of drive of what it's about, and also ties a bit to the cracking the code of techno, what it can be. It's also this kind of like trying to see how we can expand like our imagination, basically. Like it's like the point where like Moog and Buchla, they were available in like, was it like 60s or 50s?
Yeah.
60s, I think. I think in the 60s. And basically you could have made techno in the 60s. But like we couldn't imagine it yet. We needed all of the stepping stones of innovation, of people are just like, you can do this now, and then like, and then the next thing, until we like now we're able to imagine it. And every time we find like a piece of music that's kind of like, oh, this is amazing, never heard anything like this, and like it grips us, then it expands our kind of mind about what we can do and what we can imagine. Like if you're born without any senses, like what do you think about? You can't think about anything because you have never seen a banana, you have never tasted a banana. So how are you going to think about it? You have to taste it, right? And I guess that's like the kind of the process. We're again back to where we talked about as well, where we kind of like need to listen and evaluate. Also, is a part of this. It was very, very interesting. Like what did they say? Something like that. Good music that is sort of an indication of a sophisticated worldview. Something about like that, like shit, I can't find it.
You write all this down, or is it?
Yeah. Let's just see. Yeah, but it was something like, if you hear good music, it's sort of like in order to make fine art. I don't know if it's that a word, but whatever. To make something revolutionary, sort of. You need to have a sophisticated worldview in a way, and in a way, when you, because all of these micro decisions that we talked about comes through a sophisticated sort of relationship with experience, and how would you say? I guess so, like with all of your senses, and like you know what I mean. I'm starting to
for sure.
Drift a bit.
No, but it's also because I was in the terms of what they're talking about there also, and because they are talking about like classical music mainly, and I was thinking about that when I heard them talk about like that, because it's also this thing that this music that we have been. It's such a project. Like you have these pieces, 400-year-old pieces of art or music that is not only like interpreted with so many musicians, and it's been taken care of. It's almost like a vis-tradition or something, where you have this traditional like folklorish tales, but we know the artist, so it's not the same. But you have this like new orchestra has been changing small stuff, and there's new stuff very finely added, and there's so many people involved in creating this piece of art. In a way, but you can easily, so it is very fine or refined, and that I think it's probably not looked upon as much as these notes are one thing, like but the greatness can come from time, or like it's like a wine, you don't never really know when something earns that truth value, so to speak, or what you would say. It can even come from like how the interpreters have been treating the material,
and it's very interesting. I guess now I'm seeing a parallel though, but like you say, folklore and stuff, it grew through hundreds of years, many generations of people making up new stories and changing the original stories, and the kind of like the good parts of the stories is through selection, natural selection, stay, because people keep them after like 100 years of retelling the stories. Some parts are just kept, and some parts get lost, and through that process, eventually, in the end, you have a folklore that is just very, very gripping and moving, because it has like through conversation just kept its form over like, centuries, and what you're left with is something that's very, very difficult for like one person in modern time to just like, for instance, like Tolkien is like maybe one of the biggest world builders there is. But even him, who was like a genius linguistic and spent his entire life trying to build a world, was basically copy-pasting a lot from old folklore, but it doesn't really come close to many old stories as well, and even religious texts as well, which has like grown through hundreds of years of people really, really, really caring about it and like retelling it.
That's impossible to compete with.
And it's interesting to consider like what are we doing today to continue on that, and maybe let's say a genre is this process in a way, like all of like we are like if you have a sound and it's remade, then eventually we have like we're like sort of like sharpening that idea, and collectively through the ages, like sort of refining what the sound is. It's very interesting.
I think you're absolutely right. Also with the I think also electronic music has like a lot of these, like this, you don't call it a song, you call it a track. It's like there is some in its finest moments we are all working together to create this, like, you know, it's that's the beautiful part. Of course you can turn into this like vain part of yourself, and but if you to think it in one way creating folklore,
right? We're trying to crack something.
yeah, and that's cool with all the mixes and stuff. Like there's an artist on stage, but the music being played is made by so many people, and like a myriad of I think it's cool.
Yeah,
it's really, really cool actually.
Yeah. Okay.
We have some more questions here.
Oh, cool.
Or do you have one more?
No, I have one more. We can take it later.
I think we have questions.
Yeah.
My understanding is that Spotify still isn't profitable. Apple Music can basically burn money with Apple going bankrupt. I haven't heard that.
Apple is such a huge company. It's crazy.
Yeah, probably. Do you think streaming can be sustainable for the companies and the artists? If not, what are the ideas streaming? My eyes are not what they use. Do you think streaming can be sustainable for the companies and the artists? If not, what are your ideas streaming companies can do to better the niche labels artists?
I think it can be.
Yeah, you've been doing a lot of thinking into this.
Yeah, like I was developing an app actually, which is supposed to do this. And in short, the idea is kind of combining Spotify and Bandcamp, so that it's partly streaming user experience, like you register and then you can stream, but it also has the functions where you can actually buy the track. And the difference between Bandcamp in that sense is that we give 100% of the revenue to the artist, so it's like Bandcamp Friday, but every day of the year. And the way, first of all, like it comes down a lot to building a model which is very lightweight and not cost so much, and that scales with the usage. And this is possible. Like I've tested these ideas with a lot of experienced developers who are very honest with me, and some of them are now on the project because they believe in the idea, and I don't know if I'm gonna do it. But anyways, it is possible to do it very, very cheaply. Like for instance, the CEO of Spotify is a billionaire. So like step one, don't make your CEO a billionaire, and then all of a sudden you reduce your costs a lot. And in general, like on a company level in general, also don't have ridiculous wages, because that's also one thing that happened with developers, is they become very, very spoiled over the last few years. Like it's been such a high demand that most developers have a hard time declining well-paid jobs to work like on a passion project for like a reasonable salary, and they like move to central parts of the world, and they have very high rents, and they have very blah blah blah. It's just out of control. It's like that's one part, and you can really reduce costs a lot by that. And the way that and also like we want, or my idea with this was to make it so that it has no fees, so everything, all the music that you buy goes straight to the artist, and no ads on the platform at all. So that just rules out every solution that's available on the market right now. And my idea for it, like how would we make money? We would create a software for professionals that we sell. So basically, the app in itself, you can subscribe with like, let's say $20 per month or whatever, and then you get the software that is for DJs. Like you can arrange your music, you can use it as Dropbox, like you're using SoundCloud, so you can just like sync it with a folder but you sync it on a folder on your computer. So when you put your latest mix there, it syncs and you have it in your app, and then you can send a link like you do like on SoundCloud to get like feedback and share tracks and stuff like that. So it's basically like Dropbox, but Dropbox isn't adapted for music. This will basically be like a record box or Tractor, or like a very, very deep and seriously professional software. That's our product. We sell that and we make a living from that. And the whole streaming app that's connected to it, that's just like a bonus for users.
Yeah.
Right. So we just like that part we do for free, and it's quite cost effective. And we can allow labels and artists to keep all the money, and that way also attract people to actually come to the app. Because like also, why am I gonna come there? Well, because we have no fee. Like, oh, okay. Then and also we have these onboarding mechanics, which just like you just press a button and your entire discography has come here. So it takes you like 1 hour to fix it. Yeah. Okay, well then maybe I try it, and then if we get people on trying it, and then if you can connect it, like, because we also did like research, and it shows that I think 95% of our demographic was DJs. So like even if you are a DJ at home just playing, like you maybe want the same, and it's just packed with a lot of features, like also ways for DJs to earn money on their mixes, because right now it's an economy where it's basically DJs trying to establish themselves, so they record a mix for some podcast channel and they don't get anything, and it's very unclear what value it is, and you can sort of like bang your head against that and not really know what's happening. But we would actually have ways of monetizing that, and we have a lot of different solutions for a lot of fun things. So I think it's I definitely think it's possible. And I mean, just Bandcamp. I mean, Bandcamp is profitable, I guess. And
they just sold now.
Epic
they
bought
sold
them.
to Epic.
Which can be a good thing. It can be a good thing, hopefully. And that's also one of the reasons for why I'm putting this app on hold. Because if Bandcamp fixes some things, it's not necessary to build this app. One of the reasons why I really wanted to build it was it didn't exist, and I did not see any indication anywhere that it was coming. And we're in this kind of limbo now where SoundCloud is becoming pretty shit in many ways. Bandcamp is not a streaming site. Spotify and all the streaming sites are very like greedy, and everyone is just sort of unhappy with everything that exists, but there's nothing on the horizon. Yes. So that's kind of the reason.
Yes.
But that's we'll see. But that's my answer.
No, but I think you did some serious thinking in this.
Yeah. I've been working on this idea for like 3 years now.
Yeah, I love it. We have more questions here. No, how to resist over time as an artist, and also how to carry a level of label as incredible as Hypnus. Thanks for sharing the music and time to music and time. Thanks, David. I knew. Hello, you were in the stream before. I think you're the only one there.
Was it?
Yeah.
Who was it?
Nubium 12 or Sergio Tabares.
What was the question, though?
No, there was no question. I thought it was a question. The question, another question. What role do you think AI will play in your music creation and consumption? We kind of talked about that before. To me, I still feel like I already use AI. Like the only real AI, I use the Isotope 9 that has like this kind of AI kind of mastering, and but I mean it's very bad. It's not like, I feel the same as like with the ChatGPT and stuff. Sometimes some things it's really great for, but like if you ask it to tell a joke, it fucks it up so bad. It's not really. I mean,
humor is quite complex.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe like you said before, maybe you need to be like dying. No, with dying I mean like you have, maybe you need to have a certain like idea about death and like stuff to be able to have humor, or because it's, and I feel the same about art.
I have traumas as well.
Yeah. And I think like the loop cloud and stuff, it basically where people just take like loops and put them together. It's like it's basically the same as AI. I don't think AI will do a lot of different. Like I don't think it will make a lot of difference for me personally. For like, I think that maybe like there was some work before you could get like some very shitty small amount of like bread jobs, as we call them in Sweden, like to pay the bills jobs to make music for elevators and stuff. And these companies now will only make them with AI.
Yeah, for sure.
So that maybe like economically, there's some jobs being taken from people. I think that could be like bad, but I mean, or like I don't think it will change like how I make the more soulful stuff.
Yeah, I think for me it's gonna, like, I would like it to just automate things that I don't want to do.
Yeah.
Basically, that can vary from day to day. But let's say I make a loop, I know how to arrange a loop, and my personal AI is trained on my projects. Like it keeps track of everything I do, and I just tell it like arrange it, please, and it just like maps it out. And then if I don't like it, just redo it. Okay, that I like, and then I jump into it instead of having to do it myself. Like, because there's no prestige for me in doing that. Like I don't care.
No.
Like the decision for me anyways would come then when I'm unhappy. Do it. Okay, now do it again. Now I like it. That's like still a decision. So it's like I also do the music basically, like also for myself and trying to express something. And one thing I really think is gonna revolutionize AI within music production, and like I think like the first company to get on that is gonna make a lot of money, but that's basically to generate samples with AI.
Yeah.
Like imagine if you have because it's the same like you said, like a brödjobb, like these small jobs, and like a lot of people make a living making sample packs. And if you look at like Output and what a Splice or whatever, they have so many artists making samples, and they're selling them for like a cut. And now they could basically just train an AI on their entire sample library, which is probably like tagged and everything. So like AI can make sense of it. Like this is a kick, and this is like this kind of style. And it's like it has so many meta information about all the samples. So basically, like as soon as they can just like make an AI where you can prompt it and just say like, create a kick drum in the style of this, and then you just get like you as many example as you want, and then you can just pick one in your DAW and just drag it out, and you have a wave file like where it's just like, and just generating like a kick drum is so simple for AI. Like now it's trying to generate entire music, which I think like that will be interesting, but I think this thing is like being able to generate a kick, hi-hat or whatever, and then you can just like prompt it and start to cook your own samples with this, and you just easily save them as your own stuff. That I think will revolutionize a lot. And one thing I really would like to do also is have like an AI that is a diffusion AI model, which I can also connect to my modular. So when I am jamming, it's just listening to me.
So it's like a second person.
And it just like trains on whatever I do, and on my Euro rack, it understands me, it knows my sound, and then when I tell it to do stuff, it like does it based on this. So I can kind of like, it's almost like talking to my synthesizer.
That's not a bad idea, actually.
Yeah, I think like that can be cool.
That could actually be cool, like a second like purse, like a jammer, give it control over the sends or something.
And one thing I thought about a long time ago when I was thinking about like AR, and now when this Apple thing has come, and like if that technology really catches on more, and imagine you just connect AI to Ableton or whatever DAW you have, it can basically analyze everything, all of the settings, all of the clips. If it's MIDI, is it audio, where's it coming from, and all of that. And you can just train it on like millions and millions and millions of music projects. And then imagine like you go into your studio, you put on like a VR headset, you have monitors, and then you just like get like this screen in the air. And you just like, it has like speech to text conversion, and you just like start a techno project, and it just like opens up a kick track and a hi-hat track and and then you just like, okay, I don't know, you can even tell it like make a techno track in the style of Mike Parker, and it just like just does something, and you can save parts, randomize some stuff, and then when you start getting into the groove, you can start going into yourself, and then you just like, okay, arrange it, and just arranged it, and then eventually you just make a track. It's just kind of like a hybrid of doing it yourself and with an AI, and then you just like make a track in like 30 minutes or 5 minutes.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's I think that's probably what it's going to be.
Yeah.
For sure. I think that's going to be exactly what it's
GPT
gonna
is
be.
so fucking smart.
Yeah.
Because that's interesting, because like really it reads code so intelligently as well, I think. So I guess it will just eventually be able to just like read source code of a software and just like understand what everything is. You don't even have to like tell it so much eventually.
Of course.
It's already like that, more or less. You can paste like a code that's pretty complex, and it just tells you what it does. And and reversely now it's coming. I saw the other week, I saw like a website creator provider thing that generates websites through AI. So basically, the way I think it works is just you just prompt it, and it builds websites for you. And that's not so shocking. That judging from what I've seen, like GitHub Copilot, what it's able to do. Like now, just to say like build a website, like there's like a billion websites online that it can train on. So it's just like build a basic website. It's like so easy for a computer.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. For sure. It's no question about. I think it's just best case scenario. We have Star Trek.
yeah, and I guess like if you work also like correctly and name your classes right and make your code generally like understandable by other programmers, computer will also learn to understand it, and you will probably use AI to do it as well. So it helps you make it even more clear. And then eventually, I guess like if you have Ableton source code, you just show it to like a large language model. It will just understand what everything does. This is a button. This is connected to that. It will just know. You don't have to tell anything. It will just like, oh, what do you want me to do? Oh, well, you just tell it.
But it's free. But the only thing I can think about, like maybe for you and me, who are people that can do like music, or maybe we know a lot about music and stuff, so we can use it and still have the like confidence of knowing that we know how to do music in the like core, so to speak. But maybe for a person that's new, and I think it should be very demanding for a new person coming into this realm and just doing stuff and like hearing it and it sounds good, and not really knowing on the like in the core what's being done. I think that's kind of it's going to make you feel it's going to be hard to stand behind what you're doing in a way. Especially with something like music. I mean, making a website, you're probably making it for like all these stuff that's making music for another. Like I have a commercial, I want to have some music on it, or I have a like if it's like something you need. Like I use AI all the time to write emails because I have dyslexia and stuff. So it's a tool for me in that. But to make your like core thing, I think you need to have some fundamental like knowing of that to be able to like. I think it will be a long time before people actually see it as they're doing the art. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's interesting how to relate to that in Midjourney as well. Like, but in a way, but that's very interesting because in Midjourney, I get this very personal, emotional connection with the AI. Because like one thing that's for me, what's revolutionary about AI now is that I now have a conscious, but I have some sort of entity to reflect with at any time, Because in my life, like I'm pretty intense person. I have a lot of ideas and I want to talk about things like we're doing now, you know, and that's all the time. And finding people who have the same interest, and then like they have a job and they're tired and they're not interested or they're distracted, and like finding someone who wants to talk to you about what you want to talk to at the time you want to do it for as long as you want to do it has been like a huge struggle in my life. And it's one reason why I'm also building online communities, because when that happened to me when I was young, it was mind-blowing, because before that I only had access to the people in Bålsta, which was basically like finding no one to talk to. And then all of a sudden there was like forums online. It's filled with people with the same interest. And like and if one is offline, there's another one online. So like whatever I could do, like kind of find the community and people to talk to. If I have an idea, I can just make a post, and then in a few seconds or minutes, like someone had said something, and I can get into a discussion about it. And that was revolutionary for me. And that's also why one thing why I build community around the labels and stuff is partly to provide that to everyone else in the world who are in the same position, because I know there are a lot of people, and also for myself. And then now with AI for me and with Midjourney, and why it was so kind of like emotional for me, was that I was imagining things with another individual for me in a way. Like I was saying, like, imagine this creature that looks a bit like this, and it just showed me something, and I was like, whoa, shit, that's not what I meant, but there was something there that was very interesting. And then I just like lose myself in this kind of very excited brainstorming process with someone that doesn't get tired of dreaming with me, doesn't judge. It just it just like suggests, and it edits, and you can talk to it, and it's like over and over again. And eventually when I managed to synthesize an image that really like struck me, like eventually just there was one image and I'm like, whoa, that image is just like coming from such a deep space somewhere in me and just resonate with me, that I felt like, I don't know if I had made it, but it just felt so meaningful to me that it exists, and I can see it, and I'm very emotionally attached to that image. And it's not like and it becomes meaningful to me in the same way as doing it with a human. And I was talking about that also on Patreon. Like humans, we're prompting each other all the time. Like if you're in a band and you turn to the guitarist and you say like, play that riff faster, you're prompting it. You're prompting a meat neural network to do something, and then it tries to do it. And then if you are like positively surprised, you will get more ideas and new prompts. Or if they fail, you will like try to change your prompt. That's basically like prompting is basically communication.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
That's what it's like what we call communication is what we call like prompt engineering when it's with an AI.
That's true. It's like that. So basically, I mean, the point when you can actually come home to your computer, instead of like watching this series, you can just say that I want to see like a series about detective in some city, detectives. You like it will make like a 10 episode like Netflix series for you. Yeah, it seems like that kind of like when you can just cater your own. It will make your own entertainment based on your dreams, so to speak. That's amazing. But it's how you connect to it on like your own, like you made it, because I mean, I think. You are not alone when you make it.
I don't even connect like I made it with my own music. Do you do that?
No. That's what I'm going to go to. Like it's like, because when you like make music, you learned all of these like things like that's. For a long time, I was on a quest. Like when I did my installations and stuff, like on a quest and like makes to really prove that I made this. Like not even. There's not even a guy who made the fucking PA system. I've like made the speakers, and made like, you know, everything is by me. You know? But it's no. But you're right. It's like there's somebody who made the door. They made it easy for me. I don't have to play loops. Blah blah blah. It's like it's hard to say that you made something. Yeah,
it's more like I found it for me. Yeah, it's more like I whatever I create, it's more like I find it. Most of the time, I don't know if it's always like that, but and like in one way, I'm exploring ChatGPT now a lot, and which I have a lot of hopes for as well, is for just like a friend. You know, in the same way, like now I'm using ChatGPT. I have like one chat where I'm really trying to make it get to know me and who I am, and like okay, talking about myself, and like okay, tell me what you know about me. Like okay, it tries to tell me, and then like okay, how well do you know me from a scale of 1 to 10? It's like 20. Okay, what would you like to ask me to increase that number? And then like gives me questions, and I start answering it, and then imagine like because. I think this is revolutionary for kids and parents and everything, because like eventually if you have a chat GPT that is so knowledgeable and if it's nuanced and neutral and like all of that, and it knows you, it's someone you can talk to always. You never have to worry about anything. Like if you have if you're becoming a parent and you have some question about something about the child, like my child is doing this and that. Like and it makes me feel this, and it's like knows you and it reflects and give you like different tips and tricks on how to do it and how to do that, and with friends and with like teenagers in puberty and all these awkward things and things that we might not want to talk to someone about, like just to have someone to talk to about it. I think that will be revolutionary for in general. I think like I would and I think it will be something that people will fight for. Like the right to have, like if people are trying to stop people from getting that, I think some other people will be very, very protective of their right to have this friend that always listens to them and helps them and don't judge them. And when someone wants to try to take that away and like, no, you have to be stuck with humans, I think that will be a very interesting sort of tier.
For sure. But on the other one, it can be create a whole generation of only like people that are so used to being listened to that they cannot communicate with other people.
Right.
And they cannot share with other people, and so But I don't know. I mean, I think it's probably because I have a lot. I tried to make because I got so stuck on ChatGPT not being able to be funny. So
well, that's a very difficult thing.
Yeah, it's hard. Like it can be funny in the way that you can laugh at it, but to be really fun, I tried. We have this concept in Sweden called buskis.
Yeah.
And I try to make it like write these buskis tales, which are like so it's like humoristic stories, like theater about like farts and like women falling on their ass and stuff. But it was they ended every story in the same way, in some kind of every story ended up in some kind of it just nailed down the format somehow, and all the endings, all the like it was so soulless. It had a lot of soul in the words, but like when you made it 4 times, it was just completely empty. In every way, and I'm sure that's not because of it's supposed to be empty. It's because it was censored. Like you couldn't make. I couldn't make it like to kill people in the story. I couldn't make it like it was impossible to create to make it go out of bounds. You know. Yeah.
And it's also undeveloped technology. Like if you look at Mid-Journey images from 1.5 years ago, it was like this is horrible.
Yeah.
And like it was the same then when you're like, oh, this image is generated by AI, and when we saw that blurry, melted, weird shit, we were still mind blown that it was possible. Sure. But then it took you sit with it for like 10 minutes, and then eventually you're like, okay, this needs some more time to mature. And that's the same impression I have now with ChatGPT, is that when I'm really now trying to get it to know me and talk about it deeply, eventually I come to the point where I just realize that this is just like a very rudimentary sort of, there's no depth. But that will come, I think, like because I'm using GPT 3.5 and there's already 4 and then it will be 5, 6, 7, and eventually I think it will be as like the sort of conscious quality of it will be as lifelike as like Midjourney is becoming for the eye, I guess.
Probably so. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. It's something about the person like that you can make, like you have a control over like that you know that it has more to give. Like it's like the concept of like talking really with somebody, getting closer to somebody. Something about this, like that you know that the AI will always answer exactly what you. There's no like real like digging for you. Of course, you can ask it more questions and get more answers, but it's not something about that kind of, you know, emotional barrier. I don't know if it exists, but the I have a hard time, like, I have a hard time thinking that it's going to replace.
No, I don't think so either.
No, I think it's going to be something else. But of course, I mean, people are going to. We're already getting married to AIs and stuff. I think we're making ourselves autistic. We're YouTubing ourselves to autism in a way.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it changes how we approach relationships, but I think at least from my own point of view, I just think it's gonna help me be a better person in general. I think just being being
good.
able to get words off my chest and have them challenged in a way where I can just error correct as fast as possible, which I can't now always because I don't always have someone to talk to about the things I want to talk to about with someone who I find sort of how do you say competent or knowledgeable enough in order to meet me in my thoughts and sort of like correct what I'm thinking. And like online, it's becoming almost impossible to talk about things because it's so contentious everywhere. Everyone it is so common to misrepresent each other, become triggered and become fights, and like people just like freak out, and it's a very like toxic. It's like kind of showing that internet is not a place where humans are able to coexist in the way that we are trying to do now, because so much of communication is lost, like body language and everything. We're just kind of realizing what the internet is for and what it's not good for. And one of the things I noticed is like I'm really tried on Discord in periods of like trying to have like a philosophy section, talk about religion. Everyone can talk about religion. And it works for a while, and then eventually just like fucking horrible experience where just like people come in and just totally smash and misrepresent the conversation when we're talking about really, really subtle, difficult topics. And it's just so difficult to do that online. And if we can't, then who are we going to talk to about it? Like then we really need to get out and talk about and find a place. And that's what I really think and hope that like AI can help at least me to get things off my chest and tell me when I'm thinking wrong and like nuance what I'm thinking, so I can like get it off my chest. So when I finally go out and meet people, I'm just like more chill and more like
I like that. That's it's beautiful. I never thought about it like that, but I should actually do the same.
Yeah, it was just like a simple thing. Like the other day, I was like, okay, I want to start talking more to random people. How do I do that? And I was looking at some books, but then I just asked ChatGPT, like, how can I, like, I'm a bit shy to talk to strangers. Like, how can I do that? And he just gave like 8 examples. Like, okay, and I can just prompt him more, and he's like, give me perfectly like a steps guide on how I can start doing that. It's like small things like that. Whatever it is, I want to like improve with myself. Can you just ask it? It's interesting. Did we have more questions? We should probably wrap up soon.
Questions in the here
and now.
Is there any questions? No, I think it's just some very nice words.
No insults.
Everything is thank you. Please do more of these. Very interesting to hear you guys speak.
Yeah, it would be fun maybe sometime to be 3 as well. Oh shit, I think you got frozen now. I will wait for a bit and see if you come back. Okay. Let's wait for a bit. Maybe I can look at the stream here. Oh shit, you wrote so much. Sneak by album, great. Yeah. All right. Cool. I think that was all questions, and now David's coming back, I think. Oh.
Oh, I died again. Sorry.
Yeah, it's fine. Cool. Yeah, I didn't see any more questions in the chat.
No more questions.
I have one more question for you.
Yes.
It's from Discord.
Yeah.
And again, I want to remember everyone that David's Twitch is a link in the description. There's also a link to our Discord and to my Patreon as well. But the last question from Discord was how do you stay engaged creating and learning? Like you've been doing it for so long, and how do you get through to keep going and not like give up?
I have people like Michel, and I have people like that keep me going. I have like tried to not do it myself. Try to do every other project with somebody else. Like keep it, and I try to eliminate the parts of what I do that I don't enjoy, and like if you think it's like the cliche that if you do this, the craziness is just doing the same thing and accepting different results. It's like to have a shitty gig and think that it's gonna generate good gigs is insane. To have a good gig, like it's gonna generate more shit.
Right.
To me, it's like I love playing live, but I also fucking hate playing live.
Yeah.
In a way, so that's a struggle for me. I don't hate playing live. Of course, this actual live is beautiful, but all the stuff like with which time of the long hours and stuff, and the traveling has been very hard on me, and that's something that's been very hard for me too. I don't only play with this project. I play with play a lot with bands and stuff. So, but then I just try to change it, and as long as you have one person with you that you love. I mean, life comes down to coffee and friends in the end. So as long as you have coffee and friends, you're perfect. You're good.
That's so true.
Yeah. So there's no
that's a very important point. Just to focus on the thing that you think is fun. I think maybe it might be easy to forget. Also, it's the same with like you talk about live, and that just because you enjoy making music does not mean that you enjoy standing in front of a crowd at all.
No, for sure.
And that's things that maybe people don't even think about. That, for instance, I have a friend who has been working as a DJ and producer his entire life, basically, and don't actually like it. I kind of known it, but also not. It's been more like an abstract, like kind of like a stress, and like.
Yeah.
It wasn't until we actually talked about it, and I said that I don't like it, and I don't really want to do it. That they're like kind of wait, I don't think either, and then they like kind of like, and then I realized there's more and more people like that, and it's like all of this kind of like also producer DJ producer, where like producers need to be able to DJ to get gigs, and like DJs need to produce and to whatever, and it's like I think it's good for like to be sustainable psychologically and have like the energy over time to keep doing it, is to, like you say, focus on what you think is fun in a way, in the way you're able. Like it is also, it sounds a bit privileged as well to be able to do that. Like for me though, was just working on the side in order to be able to be authentic with what I do. And like there's so many, like I still haven't released my music on Hypnus yet. It's also kind of part of me wanting to be able to be completely fucking weird with my music and not haven't found the material yet which has come naturally that fits there. And I think I kind of like having it on the side as a very very uncommercial projects as well, which is interesting because I'm sort of expecting and pushing all of you guys to actually release on Hypnus, while I myself am feel like, nah, I don't want to do that. But I'm really trying to get you guys to do it, but that's a bit different.
I can really
it's a bit different
that because it will probably become something very different. Like once you do that, maybe not. Maybe you shouldn't be too hard on it, but there's probably a very good reason, like, for you not doing that. To be also easier to work with in a way, and it's a different. I mean, you have a lot of like, you're very conceptual in how you think around stuff. Like it's very, you're good at like creating, determining what stuff should be, what, so to speak, and like what fits into that kind of mold without being like subtractive, too subtractive. It's still very like open and everything, but I think you have probably a very good reason, maybe unconsciously, for doing what you do.
Yeah, and it's interesting also trying to relate to my like creating music as well. Like I don't know if I want to make music. To me, I'm going back and forth between them in a way. In a way, for me personally, and in terms of what I think is fun and what I want to do in my days, then I see making music more just like one thing that you can do in a day. It's not like my profession in that sense. No. Like, it's just like if I play Magic, make music, or watch, read a book. It's just like one thing I can do during a day when I feel like doing it. But then I think it's actually often during sometimes when I listen to my own music and hear it, and it really speaks to me, that's when I feel like, okay, I kind of have to do it for my own self, because I hear that there's something there, but I'm not putting enough time into it to really get it out there. So then when I kind of feel obliged to myself to keep making music, because otherwise when I die, I won't, that will just, all those things will just wither away within me, and I kind of like feel this, even though I don't necessarily like want to be a producer or anything like that. It's more like I'm refining my skills in order for like as a servant or an assistant to this sound that I'm hearing, so I can like kind of learn to express it more. And I guess I'm kind of answering the question how I stay engaged, creating and learning for me, and like for learning and how I stay learning. It's just like it's what we're talking about, sophisticating understanding of the world in order to be a better person. It might sound cliche, but it's like very true in a way. And it's not necessarily for me. I think it's a lot also for me as a sort of revolt against assholes. For me, you know, I want to be as good of a person I can be, and that doesn't come easy for me, because I have a lot of tendencies from my upbringing and stuff that is not the best always, and I'm struggling with, and I'm trying to be a better person. And for me, it's like a revolt against all of the idiots in the world, like impolite people, intolerant people, just to be as good of a person I can be and create a culture where that's the thing, and that those people can fuck off. Then I'm happy. It's a sort of like creating this like safe environment for people who work on themselves and are open-minded, whereas like you can't even be there if you're not open-minded. That's the kind of like thing that drives me, like to create that kind of space where if you talk shit about people, you're just gonna be in an awkward company, because everyone is just gonna like, what are you saying? Why are you saying that? And then eventually you just have to leave or change, stop like being a judgmental person. That's the kind of culture. That's something that really drives me a lot. A lot as well. To like to create a culture that's like open-minded. And in order to do that, then I need to study, because otherwise I don't have no idea what the fuck I'm saying or what I'm talking about. And I need to have come in and like talk to you now. Like I learned so much during this conversation, like, and hear myself speaking and hearing things I say that's off, and exploring ideas, and we really do have such a cool community. Like like you were at the Hypnus label night in Stockholm in March. It was like the most amazing.
It was insane.
Yeah, it was so crazy.
It was absolutely crazy. Actually,
Yeah.
it was even more crazy than I thought it would be.
Yeah, it was
It
so
felt
beautiful.
much more like a firma fest than I thought.
Yeah.
Like a very it was a road burn environment, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Everyone being so like relaxed
Yes.
and like kind and free, and
Yeah.
you know, and you can talk to anyone, and everyone was like, very, yeah, it's amazing. And that's like, and Luigi has been with me during this project from the beginning, and he knows as well. And both of us, this is so important for both of us. This is what we want to see, and like I know you too, and like and everyone in the Hypnus crew is like all this. Yeah, I mean, for me, it's like yeah. I'm a huge fan of both you, like all of you, and the label, both as artists and friends. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
the same.
it's
It
fun.
was. There's no better place to be in musically. I think, like has all the. It has everything.
Yeah.
Like, it's such a community, dual community, especially with other creators. It's like to be able to have the people you not, what do you say, ser upp till, look up to,
Yeah.
in the same label is a very like beautiful thing.
Yeah. And we have to work to keep it like that as well when it grows, because like the culture is going to grow and people are going to come in, and we have to sort of like actively always forever like be critical of ourselves and other people, like, because it's like I notice when we get like surges of attention into Hypnus, like only it can be like a viral thing, and then we just like some image just like get like so much traffic for some reason, and it just like spills in so much trolls and people. And that's like, yes, the people that are just like negative, and it's very rare that people are negative, which I think it's like, I think it's good. I think it's good generally.
Yeah.
Like it's okay to be critical, but like this kind of like just this, because if you're giving a negative or like constructive feedback to someone, it should be because you love them and you want them to improve, not because you want to like diss them and like disrespect them. Anyways, I'm just saying that like, we have a fantastic culture right now, and I just really want to keep it that way, and I want it to grow a lot. Like, you know, I want the whole world to be like that. But then I need to be like, also, it's a lot of work.
For sure. That's something that I think it's very hard to. I mean, I am not like what you said before. Not the person that's. I am staying in the Shire kind of guy. I am like met one of my best friends in you and in the other guys at the label and stuff. But like the growth part of it is very hard for me to like fathom. It's like very hard to like. The growth in terms of art, I kind of like we need to make better music. That's but the other like ideas of growth, I have a very hard. It's hard for me to like get into. I think it's also some kind of protection I have from you know being what do you say, from failure. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of people have that, but so. In terms of growth, it's I'm going with your words and not mine.
Yeah. Well, for me, it's an abstract thing as well. Like, it doesn't necessarily need to grow more now. I think it's very, like, it's incredible, like what happened. But it's like more for, I just want the world to be, fucking compassionate and reasonable.
That's what I kind of meant. That you actually have a good reason for it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Well, anyways, I think that's it for
this
today.
was lovely.
Yeah, it was amazing. Yeah, we should do it again. It would be fun to maybe invite one more person. It would be cool to maybe to be 3 as well.
Of course.
Yeah.
Let's bring in. We can do
Alexander Bard.
Come.
Yeah, or Barry.
Why not?
Or Barry.
Barry
Barry or Bard. Yeah, that would be interesting. Yeah.
Yes.
Cool. Yeah, well, thank you for doing it and for your time. And I hope you have a great day. And thanks to everyone who tuned in for this over 3-hour conversation about
holy shit.
Whatever we talked about.
3 hours.
Art. Yeah. think so.
Incredible.
Yeah, I need to get a kip.
Hur många har det? I think I have 5 of them here. I've emptied all of them.
Yeah, I have only one, but it's empty though, so it's like despicable. Well, take care and have a great day everyone. Tack igen David. Vi hörs. Ta hand om dig.
Puss.
Ha det.
Ha det gött.
Hej.
Hej.